exciting edition of the Voice of the Call Nation Radio Show. I'm having a little technical difficulties tonight. I need somebody's help. If you can hear me in the chat room, please press 1. If you can hear me loud and clear, somebody please press 4 that I can hear you. If I can hear the sound of my voice, please press 1. Please press 1. Can you hear me, Dark Migo? Okay, great. That's good. Thank you for joining me tonight, folks. As you always know, I'm gonna try to get through tonight because I'm having technical difficulties with this friggin' internet over here. I can't. It's all right, but I'm getting tired of this wishy-washy internet over here and whatnot. It's like I don't know. Things I miss in America. Or as infrastructure and stuff like that. You do those things do wear on you after a while. But yeah, so folks, a lot going on. I seen Drewski has done Melania Trump. Oh my God. Now, why do white folks do this? Black America, black people are the wrong people to be getting into a roast battle with, especially in the age of the internet. Before when they used to roast us, they can get up there on their Tonight Show, say something about us, and we couldn't really respond back. Now the internet is like the level playing field. Drewski, 150 something million views. And so I'm saying to myself, that is powerful. That means we have the friggin' the power now. Right now, like I said, do not listen to cowards and sissies like Nat Measy talk about. Oh, you don't want no race war, Colin. Yes, we do. The first stage of a race war is propaganda, right? They're waging a serious propaganda campaign that I'm destroying them on TikTok. I have a TikTok thread that I created. What I did on TikTok? See, I'm teaching young black people how to fight these people. Oh, they master how to fight Africans, online, back and forth. But when it comes to white people, we just sit back and roll over and take like that guy who goes around talking about black people's crime and have black people invented anything. Bro, do not know how to defend themselves against racists. That's dangerous. Living in a racist country and you don't have figured out how to defend yourself, right? And discredit you. And when they discredit you, you know what happens? Then when you get pulled over by the police, pull over by the police. No, I'm sorry, you're never gonna get by. We don't let devils come to the cookout. The white devil will never come to the cookout. That's just the way it is. We have absolutely nothing to discuss, whatever. Only thing I want to hear is, Kyle, I decided to commit suicide, man. Then I'll listen to what you guys say. Other than that, go to fucking hell. Anyway, when you're dealing with white devils and we're not online, everything like that, and I got them. This is what it was. That friggin' they would say, or all the stupid shit they would say when black people fucking when black people get online. You know what I'm saying? That's what they always say, right? We're fatigued, whatever like that. But every time when white people, the person up there is white, they Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm back, folks. Back, 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 back. Have to log in on another device and everything like that. If you can hear me, put one in the chat room. If you can hear me loud and clear, put one in the chat room. If you can hear me, if I'm coming through loud and clear, put one in the chat room. I just switched devices, All right, good. But anyway, folks, we'll get back to the topic of the show. Um, the reason why the thing is when you're dealing with people, and all that. To me, another thing I'm dealing with is these pretendians. You got black people who are mentally ill, who are running around, right, trying to deny that they're African, and you got friggin' it's just so embarrassing you know. And what I do is when I see pretendians online, I just block them. As soon as I be like watching scrolling down, and somebody say, yeah, blah blah, they'll say something good. You should do new church back. That's why when our ancestors were here thousands of years ago and whatnot, we're not from Africa. Block, block. So therefore, you got the pretendians running around, basically saying they're not black, saying they're not African, and all this stuff. And all something. Be honest with you. To be honest, with the honest to God truth, and people are not gonna like when I say this, right? I think the governments around the world, if I had the power, right, I think what people post on the internet should be regulated. If you're putting up pseudo history and you got people believing, like Dane Calloway, if it was up to me, Dane Calloway will be doing 50 years in jail just for screwing people's minds up. What's the difference between giving somebody fake history that's going to lead them? You ever see these people? I'm going to tell you right now, folks, and you don't believe in nothing I say. When you start believing in fake history and stuff like that, you become crazy. And those people, you ever see them? That be old people, they be like 70, 80 years old, and their whole life has been one big lie. They've been around and everything like that. They had many different personalities. They had many different. They was all here and there. They never had a stable job. They never had stable income. And they're always in trouble. They're bouncing back from trouble or rehab, and they always got this con. The bottom line, because they don't want to accept what they are. See, when you accept what you are and who you are, you can get someplace in life. But when you gotta make up lies about history, make up lies about who you are, stuff like that, or change your identity, right? You could do whatever, but the truth is the truth. You got people out there who obviously I know what a Native American looks like. I know what an Indian looks like. And you got people out there, I'm in Africa right now. Half the people talk about the Native American could fit right in over here in Africa. And people wouldn't even look a second thing, like they're local. But they're Native American. They're copper colored indigenous, and all this kind of stupid, crazy stuff. Prove to me that the slave trade, this is our land. The white man and now they're trying to say the Siberians, the Native Americans invaded them. So they were here, and then the Siberians, Native Americans came, and then the white Europeans came. These people are insane. And that this no black, they didn't come from Africa. These people, hey, look, the bottom line is this. I understand that the history of slavery is painful. It's humiliating. It's degrading. Yes, look, the bottom line is this. When we look at American history, the reason why I am where I am, right? Let me tell you something. Not that I'm a freaking mean person. Not that I don't want to see all human beings get along and get along white, black. I would love to live in a world where white and black can get together and fellowship and, we just forget about it, kick it. But that's not reality. That's not what brought us here in this situation. Thomas Jefferson owned 600 slaves. He was a founding father. George Washington once hunted down a young girl that tried to run from him. He basically like a 5-state bounty to get her back. That was a founding father of America. A girl, only thing she wanted was her freedom. And this is a country that said It was founded on freedom. I'm sorry, I cannot forgive that. I cannot let that go. So therefore, we have a problem. We really have a problem, you know? And for the longest time, black people have been willing to say, you know something? I know about George Washington. I know about Thomas Jefferson. I know about lynchings. I know about slavery. But I love America so much, I'm willing to forgive and give this country a chance. That was a broad consensus among a lot of black people, right? We basically said we made a conscious decision that we want to become Americans, despite all the evidence that it wasn't going to work. Now, we thought that integration would create a society where people see us as equals and we get along, whatnot. But after all these years, that has completely failed. It's failed because the society was built on a lie. When something is built on a lie, when something is rooted in evil, nothing good is going to come out of it, right? And the topic of tonight's show is this, right? And you know something? I'm going to go a little step further, right? I'm going to take other parts of history and prove that what I'm talking about. When the Persians came to Greece, right, the Greek city states, and the Athenians were the first to say, hell fucking no. We don't want to be part of the Persian Empire. We're not going to give you sun and soil, whatever the hell they wanted. We don't want that. We want to be free. And so the Persians tried to get other city states, the Thrace, Cretians, and all these other people, and everybody had such among city states that we have to be united against a common enemy, the Persians, right? And it was the Spartan city state that led the charge. They were the most fiercest of all the Greek city states. Now, had one of those tribes, those city states, right, invited the Persians in, they said no. That's what they do when your enemy, whether it's black or white, whatever like that. You don't have to say, you could use, somebody listening to this could use this in any analogy. If you don't gatekeep who you are, what you are, whatever like that, the enemy will come in. And he only comes in on the invite. When you're invited, you have to let your guard down. You have to be beguiled. And that's what happened to the black man. You know, it happened to every other group of people in the world, fought against that. The Gaul tribes, right, said to hell with Rome, right? They band together. Rome, you're not going to get an inch. Same thing with the tribes of the Rhineland. The English, there was the fiery British, I forgot her name. I think it starts with a B. She was a British warrior queen. She was like, man, and she was more braver than the men. She said, I'm going to gather all the men to fight against Rome. We're not going to give them no rest or refuge on our land. And so therefore they fought, and the bottom line is, but they end up losing. They end up losing. But then the thing is, when they did lose, Rome did honor them and say, look, brought some of them back to Rome and let them live in villas or whatever, because they were so, you know, was just so amazed by their valor and their tenacity to stay free. But here we have a situation, in our situation, as far as like Africa is concerned, it's like, and people don't understand this. That's why when people like DK get up here and he's like, oh, Kala, you always let Africans off the hook about slavery, right? I'm telling you right now, everything I've studied, right? Everything I've studied, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to break it down to you tonight, how it went down, right? Africans were not willing participants in the transatlantic slave trade. They were not. What happened was this, around the 1400s, right? Dutch, I don't know about British, Dutch, Portuguese, Spanish, and French. They would basically sail the coast of Africa, right? Making friends, because they remember something. These coastal kingdoms were powerful, you know? Coastal kingdoms were powerful. They could not basically penetrate these things by force. So what they did was they uh, they basically said we're going to go there, and the bottom line is Africans, unlike other people around the world, right? The Africans invited the Europeans in. That's why people say, well, you look at the slave force. The slave force didn't come to almost 200 years later. They didn't just come in and say, "I'm building a slave force." No, that was 200 years of them inviting and them basically coming there, dancing, drinking, partying, fellowshipping, and they saw the Europeans as friends, right? Not knowing maybe they did have good intention at first. They was probably and I studied this, that the first contact with Europeans between the Portuguese, the Dutch, and all these other people was relatively positive. But over the years, what happened was the Africans began to let their guard down. You know, places like Calabar, places like Dahomey, Benin City, and places like that, Luanda, and all throughout the coast, right? They began a class of people who were drunkards, philanderers, immoral, and stuff like that. So when you have that sort of act thing where evil is let in, the people's basic moral compass of knowing what's right and wrong or predict what's right and wrong is weakened. Your immune system is weakened. So 200 years of just foolishness on the coast of Africa, right? And then the Europeans began to, as they was trading for 200 years, right? There was something that they began testing the waters with was the trade in human bodies. But by this time, Africa was so weak and so decadent, they couldn't resist because they invited the Europeans in. They invited them to the cookout. They said, "Yeah, come on in, Mr. White Man. Come on in. Let's party. Let's like this." That's why I said anytime I see, these people talk about, "Oh man, he's invited to the cookout." Something goes through me when I hear that shit. He's invited to the cookhouse. Why is somebody asking me? Uh, so, you know, so the bottom line is this. Bottom line is this. We have basically, a situation where 500 years, 500 years of inviting these people to the cookout. And I really don't think, and as far as like I look at Africa is concerned, right? And I'd hate to tell you this, right? But if everything is where I think it is, right? Africa's gonna fall again. And it's gonna be under control of the white man. And the white man, the Lebanese man, and whatnot. Look, the state of Israel yesterday in 10 minutes, I think it's the 10 minutes, dropped 100 bombs in Lebanon. Think about it, Lebanon. Now, the Lebanese people dominate most of the business infrastructure in West Africa. That means Lebanon basically don't even have a homeland to go to, but they got West Africa. There's something not quite right. Lebanon's a war-torn country, but yet it got so much influence over West Africa. And something I get to the point sometimes where I'm just like, maybe it's just time for us to move on. Maybe it's 500 years of this. It's just over with. Maybe it's time to forget Africa, you know, and do something else. Just build among ourselves, whatever like that. Just forget the continent. Because what happens is every time I think of Africa, all it does is make me angry. Really. I'm in Africa right now. The stuff I see, it angers me, right? I know I don't talk about this enough, but I'm really livid and furious. When you're here and you see the potential, you see these young people here, you see the potential or not, and you see these people that's running the country and whatnot, it's not just Liberia, it's all over West Africa, right? These unserious people. All they do is get up online, brag about their degrees and all stuff like this. And I'm looking at the level of poverty in Africa. The fact that I look at the average African, right? And for the most part, they're gonna die in that shit. That's what's so sad about it. They're gonna die in the shit. They're gonna die in poverty. They're gonna die in it. Like I said, I seen this one girl. I don't want to ask nobody because I want to step out of line. This girl's pretty. My next door neighbor. I'm saying to myself, I get up in the morning, I see her out there playing. She always got her hair done, whatnot, braids. She's a real pretty girl. Why the hell is she not in school? And I'm saying to myself, man, it just breaks my fucking heart, man. Really, it does. Seeing kids out there, they gotta sell stuff on the side of the road instead of being in class. That kids are robbed of their childhood. The African race. If you could not protect your children that came in the transatlantic slave trade, and then make a way for them to come home and build something for themselves, whatever like that. You couldn't do that. We got nothing. We have no oil fields. We got no gold mines. You got nothing like that. Everybody got a piece of Africa, except for children of the transatlantic slave trade. Now you got the same people now. I asked, okay, forget about Black America, forget about diaspora. Let's say, okay, that's fine about that. But for God's sake, that you telling me you got billionaires on the continent and there's something that kids gotta go without basic nutrition, that kids gotta go without a basic education for free. These are the things that anger me, that really anger me, you know. So it just after years of me doing this Pan African thing, sometimes I think it was just a waste of time, you know. And I think, Lavin, when you look at a lot of stuff, right? And it all comes down to one thing. One thing is the black race does not, for 500 years, Europeans, the African body was more valuable to Europeans than were the Africans. Although we were in chains and slavery and everything like that, we were put to good use. The African basically does not have any value for human life. In fact, if you look at people like Bill Gates and everything, he's convinced Africans that their humanity is a burden on the planet. The Malthusianists. There's too many Africans on the planet. We got to reduce the population. And most Africans believe that. So if you believe there's too many of you on the planet, right, then you're not going to try to do anything to try to better people's life. You can't have both ways, you know? So it is what it is, you know? It is what it is. It is what it is. It just gets frustrating to say the least, frustrating to say the least, you just, just go along with it. I'm here for another week, I'm just here. I'll be gone back next week, whatnot, and, just see how it works out. And, just oppressed. It was just like this time I see the magnitude of the problems on the continent because before I had the impression all the times I came here before that we're all on the same page. We're all going to build Africa. We're going to build it, stuff like that. Then I realize now that whatever it is, even though I talk to a lot of people in the grassroots, yeah, that's good, Colin, or not. But really what it is once people get in power and everything, they're not thinking about the long term. 'Cause they really do think the white man's world is inevitable. They think the white man's world is inevitable. They don't think they have a place in the world. What's Africa and the black man's place in the world? You know? we talk about things like rare precious earth metals and whatnot. Everybody's battling for rare precious earth metals. How come African countries are not in the discussion? All they're in the discussion of is that they got rare earth metals that they could get some money out of it, right? Some paper fiat money out of it. How come Africa is not in the thing saying we're going to build the next advanced semiconductors and machinery, robotics, and stuff like that? We're not in that. So miss me on this. Oh, we got so many people in Africa that's doing. Look, man, come on. I am sick and tired of hearing that. Sick and tired of hearing, us getting uplifted in nothing, in poverty, and mediocrity and stupidity and vanity. You know, but 500 years of inviting those people to the cookout. And it's not going to slow down. It's going to be the same thing another 500 years from now. The white man will be coming to Africa, taking what he wants, does what he wants, take what he wants, whatever, the Lebanese, the Chinese, and everything. Yeah, take what you want. You're invited to the cookout. Just come on in and whatnot. And every time I see videos where I see there was a video going around TikTok. I know you guys seen it, where a white man had on kente, a Ghanaian robe, and he was crowned a king or something like that. 500 years and inviting them to the cookout. You know, and that's the country you guys want to go to, Ghana. You know, there's so many friggin' white and Chinese chiefs and everything like that. It's all symbolic there. But the bottom line is, why are you inviting your fucking worst enemies? Because the bottom line, the African doesn't see like it like that. They can't put two and two together. When did our fucking problem start? Our problem started 500 years ago when the Europeans came to our shores, right? And basically, they beguiled us. They gave us liquor. They gave us mirrors. They gave us all these trinkets. And we were flattered by what they had to say, whatever like that. We were fascinated by their pale skin and stuff like that. We accepted a white man's Bible. There's an old Kenyan proverb that says, um, when the white man came to our country, we had the land, he had the Bible. When it was all said and done, we had the Bible and he had the land. So the white man comes with the Bible, you got the land. When it's all said and done, you close your eyes and pray. And next thing you know, he has the Bible, and you have he has the land. Now you're left with the Bible. So here's what it is. So this is what we have left in the world. We have the Bible. They got the land. They got the minerals. They got the oil blocks. They got everything. How'd this start? It started 500 years ago when we started inviting them to the cookout. Come on over. Do it. We showed the African dance and whatnot. They show us 1,000 marks of friendship and whatnot. And some of these Dutch and Portuguese even had African wives. It is what it is. It is what it is, bro. Will I try any other West African countries? Nah, I think I'm done. Nah, this is about it. I might go to. I was thinking about going to Benin. You know, Benin might be another country I think I might go to. It looks like it's very clean and decent, and whatever like that. I might go to Benin. So it is what it is. We got 500 years of inviting the devil to the cookout. I love the movie Sinners, right? One part where the vampires show up and they want to get into the juke joint, right? And there's Smoker sitting there looking at them. And Stack, see, there's two personalities. Stack was represent. Oh yeah, what's going on? We don't care. Let's see what's going on. Smoke was like, nah, man, there's something up with you people. Y'all got to get. He was cautious. He was more conscious in his thinking. And basically, there were some people like Jason Shitlock who thought that that scene was racist, but you're saying there's white people and so bottom line is this: we can't afford, like I said, Muhammad Ali said, if you know snakes are dangerous, they're gonna bite you and kill you and eat you, or poison you, or kill you or not. You don't have time to sort out which one is which. You got to stay away from all snakes till you can sort out. You can't sort out which ones are good or bad, And it's just a basic survival instinct. They do it with us, to us, we're all the fucking same. It doesn't matter. White people don't care about if you came from the ghetto. They don't care if you're a serviceman out of the military with uniform on. They don't care. That means nothing to them. All they know is you're black. You're a potential threat. That's just the way it is. And so I hope that gets through to people. But yeah, so it is what it is, folks. It is what it is. 500 years. Also, in one scene, he goes, yeah, he goes, all right, y'all, it's time for y'all to get down the road, whatever, like that. He pulls his gun out, whatever. There was a lot of Negroes that were upset about that. They were like, man, that's racism, whatever, like that. A lot of white people were upset about that, too. Yeah, if he would have let them in, they would have all been dead because they were vampires. But it was something in his gut intuition that said no. Why? Because it was Mississippi in 1930s. And people don't even put that in perspective. You're talking about the Deep South in the 1930s, where Klan broke free and killed black people all the time for fun. Why would they let these people in the club and whatnot? What would they gain from that? But the bottom line is this. The bottom line is this. When you are getting beguiled, right? Beguiled means to fool somebody into to liking you. When you're getting beguiled, you know, it's always, you can't beguile somebody unless you got some sort of power. It's like people are naturally trying to resist people who are more powerful than they are and dominant they are. A person could beguile you because he automatically has a one up on you because he has power. And when he has power over you, right, a little bit of flattery will go a long ways. And then you let your guard down and you let him in. That's another thing, which we call 776 goes, Indians and Asians, and we know the facts don't bear that out. Indians are doing okay. But the bottom line is this: when you talk about Indians, when they do it, they come over here and you'll have like 10 adults living in one house. I know this for a fact, right? Same thing with Asians. They live in one house and they got family structure, right? Their family unit and stuff like that is good. But let me tell you something, 1776, because you're a moron, right? I work in healthcare. I deal with people who have Social Security and Medicare. Do you know how many people have been here for 30, 40 years, right? Indians and Koreans, right? Never qualify for Social Security, because they never worked a solid 40 quarters or 10 years. It's more prevalent than you think. There's a lot of people of immigrant background and whatnot. They got their families and whatnot. They be like, oh, I want to get my mother on Medicare or whatever like that. I can't get on Medicare because they came from the Philippines or whatever like that, and they never put 10 years in. But most black people that I've dealt with have worked 10 years in the post office, shipyard, and stuff like that. They put their 10 quarters in, their 40 quarters in, which is 10 years. So therefore, what I'm saying, this myth about Indians and all these people doing so well, it just does not add up. It's a myth. And then when people say, oh, somebody got a gas station I know a lot of people that got gas stations, they're not making no money. It takes them like 10 years for they could break even and see a dime. That's the truth. They're living on a prayer. 10 years. They got their wife, kids, everybody living and sleeping in that gas station. And they're not seeing a dime for like 10 years. They might see a little bit of money when they pray their creditors back. So all that people tell you like, oh, Indians are doing well. When also, Seven said, look this up. Asian Americans, Cambodians, you add them all up, the Koreans, Cambodian, whatnot, they got racially the highest concentration of poverty in America. You ever go to Chinatown in America? Most of those Chinese working in sweatshops and everything are dirt poor. They work under the table. They're not accumulating Social Security or nothing. A lot of them don't have proper health care, anything. That's the reality. But they always put this thing, like this one Indian guy said, we're sick of this model minority myth. We're losing out because, and also a lot of Asians complain about racism. They say they don't get the tech jobs that they really think. They think that Indians and all these other people, that's why I think Indians are doing what they're doing right now with their bringing their people over and whatnot. Because for the years, right, the Indians, right, when you see Indians in America, they're just now starting to fight back. 10, 15 years ago, Indians couldn't get hired in tech jobs and whatnot, engineering jobs and stuff like that. This is something very new. Asians too. There's a lot of freaking Asians that basically had to go to Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, and whatnot, because they couldn't cut in America. And they said it. We're not getting or they discovered a glass ceiling. They don't get promoted to CEO and stuff like that. In America, you got that dude, Jack Dorsey, you got Elon Musk and whatnot. You have Vivek Ramaswamy, but he was more of like a scammer or whatever. I don't know what he did. We still can't tell, no one can still tell you what did Vivek Ramaswamy ever produce. Elon Musk, okay, he gave us PayPal. Jack Dorsey gave us Twitter, before he sold it. So there's other people do that. Steve Jobs, iPhone. Mort Zuckerberg, Facebook. What did friggin' Vivek Ramaswamy have that we use right now? We don't have anything. Yeah, right, Crenshaw. Employees of nail salon, gas station, liquor stores, restaurants, they're not making any fucking real money. People believe in that freaking nonsense. And so people believe in, oh, the Indians got all this wealth. It's a lie. Freaking, it's a lie. It's a lie. And a lot of Asians are getting tired, because I deal with a lot of Asians, right? They're getting tired of that model minority myth, right? Because it hurts them when they're actually trying to get ahead in America, right? Oh, you're Asian, you got all the opportunity, and that ain't the case. Yeah, I don't know what Vivek did. There's a lot of scamming, whatever, like that, Ponzi schemes and whatnot. People get rich and whatnot, and that's it. I don't know what Vivek did. Hold up, folks. Sorry about that, folks. So I don't know what Vivek did and whatnot, but people are tired of all this. Oh, the Indians are doing good. Please, where? Where? You know, They got like anybody who does when you see Asians, they always connected with their foreign country. They always like out of Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore. You never see the homegrown Asian millionaires in America. You never do it. You never do. That's another myth that people come here like with. If you're from the Patals and that other or whatever group from India and whatnot, of course you coming from a foreign country with money and backing and everything. Of course, you're gonna look like you're doing better than the average American. You got wealth and whatnot. They bringing that wealth here, from their foreign country. America had nothing to do with that. But yeah, but 500 years of inviting the devil to the cookout. And this is what we have, the end result of this. The end result of inviting the devil to the cookout. And now, what we have is he's here, he's inside, he operates freely among us. And so what can we do about it? You can't convince the average African that the white man's not safe. I had another guy, a friend of mine, and after everything Bill Gates said during the COVID thing, that he was basically went to Africa trying to promote birth control, and basically I don't know what the hell him and Melinda Gates' former wife. They're in Africa. He's a billionaire, but he's around there trying to teach Africans how to forget. I don't know what the hell he was doing. Talking about birth control and all this stuff like that. These people are freaking. And of course, when they give a little bit of something, of course they're going to have a little something. Probably spent like they'll say he's a billionaire, but I think he gave away like $300,000, and everybody jumping. Oh wow, whatnot. And you always see the African children smiling and whatnot. Oh man, Mr. BH, what? And I said, man, this guy means you guys no good. Oh man, Colin, man, Bill Gates is a good man. He gave thing. I said, you telling me you can't see through Bill Gates? He's actually telling you. Same thing with that. What's his name? Prince Harry, Meghan Markle's husband, whatever. Said African people are a threat to the continent. That's what he said. That's been the official position of the British Empire, right? The African people on the continent are a threat to African wildlife. African population is a threat to the wildlife, the environment, and everything like that. And these people, when you look at them, they're all over the continent. They're getting, wear their dashikis and everything like that. And they don't want to listen to nothing we got to say. Y'all just a bunch of racist black Americans. Yeah, and that's the new thing going on now. White people have realized in order for them to keep control over both people, black and white, they got to have Africans and black Americans, African Americans fighting with each other over stupid shit. So I don't want to hear nothing about no damn FBA, whatever reason, whatever beef we have, whatever like that, it could be solved, you know? And the bottom line, I'm not telling nobody kiss Africans' ass, whatever like that. But I look at who's, if me and Africans are fighting, who smiles the brightest? And one thing that's different from me and the rest of these Negroes that you guys listen to is I don't give a damn about white people. And I'm gonna make sure that they always know that they are my fucking enemy. You know, they're the ones who started this race war, and we're gonna finish it. Part of the race war is propaganda, you know, knowing good propaganda. And the bottom line is we're winning the propaganda war, because we have just as much access to the internet and stuff like that. We can fight back finally. And so these people don't like that. They don't like our influence in the world. They don't like standing in the world like that. They want to go around the world, make it seem like we're all a bunch of gangbangers and drug dealers and stuff like that, and try to spoil our name. It's one thing you spoil your name to other white people, but they want to spoil our name in Africa and say, "Oh, Black Americans, this one that." But you got to be a fool to believe anything the white man says. There's some things that we got problems with. Yeah, we got a lot of stupid, ignorant black people in America, right? Yeah, we do got a problem with black, but we put those people in proper context. Those are ignorant black people who don't represent us. You know, what a white man does is, like I said on the thread, I said, okay, this is what happens when a white person act up, and when you press them, they start saying, "Oh, we say fatigued about liberal white women, right? Or white liberals when they're acting up and whatnot." I said, okay, let's say I buy that, right? You know, why is it that when it's a white person, you give them agency, you give them a qualifier, you'll say white liberal, white women. But when you see Bumquisha and everything like that, oh, the 13%, 13%, 13% signifies the entirety of Black America. So when you corner them on their nonsense and whatnot, you corner them, they don't know what to say. People, they probably never had a chance to debate somebody like me on that thread. And I ate them up. I crushed each one of them. You know, I know how to use debate tactics where I can make sure people don't escape. And I was like, this one thing was like, well, you white people say you're so perfect, but you guys are the ones complaining about the gas prices, the grocery prices. You guys have an opioid epidemic or not. Have you been to the Rust Belt lately? There's white people dying every day on opium and stuff like that. You got white girls on OnlyFans to survive and whatnot. They're like, we weren't expecting that. See, they don't expect you to hit them where it hurts. You see what I mean? And what gets me is I talk to a lot of black people, right? When they deal with white people, they don't know how to debate them. They don't. They, when you debate somebody, let me tell you something how you debate somebody. You got to take their premise away from them. Once you take somebody's premise away from them, they can't defend themselves. They have nothing to cover. When the average white guy sits there and like, oh, wait, look, I'm like this. You say what you do and say this. Look, Albert Einstein was a genius man. You got white guys out there that are genius, science, and everything like that. They represent the 1% of white America, right? And then when you take that veil away from them, now they're starting to feel vulnerable. Well, if they're the 1%, what does he think about me? He say, now whites like you represent the bottom 95%, that are uneducated, Walmart shoppers, poor, broke, stupid, dusty, whatever like that. And one thing white people do not like having is being put down by black people. They want us all to think that they're all middle class, upper class, everything like that. That's the illusion they want to portray, want us to believe, right? And the bottom line, they can't do that to me because I grew up in their suburbs. I know them. I know them. You know, they can't pull that on me. They pull out a lot of black people. A lot of black people, you grew up in the projects and your hood and ghetto and that. You just see white people like, oh man, they come from suburbia. I came from the same suburbs those fucking white boys had. They had nothing, nothing important. So when they step to me, I know who I'm dealing with. They can't pull that nonsense on me. Like they're the white savior coming to rescue me. And that's what you have. When people invite white people to cookout, it's a white savior complex. It ain't a real cookout until you got a white person there. Ooh, look at this, man. Look at Billy. He knows how to do the electric slide, whatnot, all this kind of stupid shit. We were doing that shit in Africa 500 years ago, but it was African dance and drums. White man come in there, do a little dance and drum, whatnot. Next thing you know, man, he's comfortable there, and he starts laying down roots and stuff like that. 200 years later, they basically have slave forts there. That slave force did not just come. I keep telling you, right, say over and over again. Those slave forts weren't built until like the 1600s and the 1700s, right? Europeans were already on the coast since the 1400s. And what happened? The Africans on the coast were being seasoned. The coastal areas were being seasoned by European influence, you know? And so therefore, by the time Europeans, the transatlantic slave trade, the demand slaves like that, Africa was already in a weakened immoral state. So when people tell you, oh, Africans participated in slavery like that, no, it was a 200-year uh, 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 devolved over 200 years before that took place, you know? Yeah, I hope I can have faith that Africans will get it and work together. I hope they do too, man. But it's just disheartening, man. I see the stuff I see on the continent, man. I'm like, I think Chihori gives me a lot of hope, you know. Yo, you got Tinubu of Nigeria says he wants to arrest Chihori and have him tried and executed for murder, whatever the fuck these talk about. Now, Chihori is basically battling jihadis on his continent, right, or his country, right? I saw the drone footage of them shooting down jihadis and whatnot, and therefore, it was like really disgusting looking the way it looked from the upstairs. You see the people's heads and whatnot, and it was like next thing you know they're dead, whatever. It was like really disgusting. Anyway, how could Traore said that not Traore, Tinubu said that Traore is sponsoring terrorism. Now something we got to give here. Traore is fighting terrorism. So it says that's what he says. Now Nigeria is saying that he's a state sponsor of jihadists. Now, this is the thing about Africa, right? African countries and culture is say anything and make it see if it can stick. Say anything, like what we have right now in the White House. Say anything, let's see if it can stick. There's no evidence that Shahore is basically behind jihadists in the Sahel. He's fighting them. But Tinubu could say whatever he wants to say because he has the backing of the West. That's how it is in Africa, you understand? That's how it is. People say what they want to say, you know? They say what they want to say, and the bottom line is you can't tell them anything different, Say what you want to say. If you believe Shahor is a is a terrorist, then you just say it, Who cares about the truth or not, you know? Same thing going on in Liberia right now. Hey, if you think Bucka is a criminal or whatnot, oh, just get online and Liberians are the worst at that, They'll be having no kind of evidence, no evidence whatsoever. Buckeye, he's a criminal, blah, 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 like that. Do you have any proof? Yeah, there was a proof. You go like this. I said, did you actually see any money change hands? Did you actually see it, witness it? No. So how do you know that what you're saying is the truth? Did you witness it? No. But it's the truth because I say it's the truth, right? Because you want to believe it's true. Same thing what happened with the American Liberians, right? It's what you call Congo born road, so what you call a born soldier. You know, there is no evidence. There's no evidence of the what you call of the Congo people stealing and everything because they didn't understand how wealth is created. So they automatically thought that the homes that the American Liberians were built were being stolen from the native people, whatever like that. That's how ignorant. It just suits your goal. Just say anything, just whatever it is, say anything. You just say anything, say anything. If you say anything, people just believe it. Whether they believe it or not, it's just said, you can't trigger. Okay, okay, there's no consequences. What you call it? Just say whatever you want to say. Say what you want to say, what you want to say, and hope it sticks. Who cares about if it's the truth or not? You know, you know. Who cares if it's the truth or not? Just say what you want to say. Say what you want to say. You know, say anything. Say anything. Say whatever you want to say. Say this person did this. This person said that. And whether it's the truth or not, who cares? Because the bottom line is this. When it comes down to black people, whatever like that, nobody gives a damn. Nobody gives a damn. About the truth anymore. Just say what you want to say, and it is what it is. But 500 years to basically let the what you call it. But the jury's still out on Chahori. I like Chahori. I like the direction he's going, but you just got to see. We just got to see. I've heard this before. And I do believe it's the right side. I don't believe Africa is ready for culturally. I don't think Africa is culturally ready for democracy. I just don't. I just don't. Just it is what it is. And I don't think it is what it is. Democracy just does not work as far as like Africa's and the African race, whatever like that. It just does not work. But people do what they want to do. People satisfied with us. Like I see right now here in Liberia, I see a country that's completely inept. A country where I don't think, look, no matter who you put in this office here, it's going to be the same thing. That's how far gone Liberia is right now. Really it is. I think Booker is the best choice, given what he has, but there's no way in hell, you can have a country built on nepotism. Let me tell you something. Right now, and right now throughout the continent, right, you see a growing number of what we call fiefdoms are popping up, where one group of people, one clan, one tribe, one group, one political party. It's happening like that in Zimbabwe right now, where the president, Mnangagwa, whatever his name is, right, is changing the constitution to allow himself to stay in power. Allow himself to stay in power because the African loves power among everything else. And how it works in Africa is all you have to do is make sure that your Western partners or handlers are taken care of, and then you can rule. Because all about having a little fiefdom. That Equatorial Guinea, that guy, his family is some of the richest people in the world, but the people are living on $2 a day. You know, and so you have a fiefdom, and what you call, and the president of Equatorial Guinea, the first one, I don't think it's the same one, right? He was put there by the oil companies. They found him somewhere in exile, said he was some king. We're gonna return you to the. Basically, they created a puppet state. The oil companies created a puppet state, and next thing you know, what you call Equatorial Guinea is is a country. That's what it is. You could create a country. So when people tell me, "Oh, Carl, you believe in Afghanistan?" I don't know. If I had billions of dollars, I could make it happen because that's the scenes where it happens in Africa. If you have billions of dollars, you can make anything happen. That's what I'm saying. This is how it is. And that's the only way it's going to actually work. If you got billions of dollars to spend and you can get anything done you want, that's how it is. I learned that being over here this time, right? Even dealing with grassroots thing, right? We talking about grassroots movement, right? You're like, oh yeah, man, call up, man, listen to you on radio, YouTube, whatever like that. But I figure I could get a good crowd audience, right? If I told I'll give everybody a little small at the door, man, I'll be able to pack the house, man. They'll be like, yo, man, okay, Colin, we're gonna show up at Miami Beach to listen to you speak, whatever. But it's gonna cost money because people ain't gonna come out there. Africans don't think about your long term plans. That's nice as everything, but they want to know what's going in their pocket right now. So I learned that. I learned that the hard way. I think it's like America. You know, uh, uh, it's just Elvis. It's just like I said, I still love this place. I still love this country, right? But I just don't think I could do anything. I just don't really. I just really don't. I thought I could. I thought and like I said, the Liberian people are so beautiful. They're so. I like the way women are treated here. I like the way the men treat the women. They treat their women like their sisters, their mothers, and whatnot. They have so much respect for women here in this country. I'm not used to that. Women carry themselves a certain way and whatnot, really classy and whatnot. It's everything you dream about in having a freaking being around in a black country. You know, that's why I said when you got these young people here, just so friggin' smart. See, the thing is about Liberians, right? A young person starts his journey to adulthood right when he turns like 10 years old. I notice he starts getting responsibilities of an adult. He'll go do things like, go to the market, do things like that, handle business transaction and stuff like that. Just they take it. So by the time he's 18, 19, he's a full on adult. Where in America, you got American kids, they're freaking sitting there and coddled by their parents until they're in their 20s and whatnot, and stuff like that. Where these kids over here, they, I mean, it's just hard to describe, man. It's just really, and just what's so disheartening is because these kids got so much, they're so freaking smart. Like today I had an older guy, man, my plumber guy, I had some problem with my plumbing, right? My water tank, I don't know what the hell's wrong with, right? Plumber came out here and fixed it, right? Get this, parts and labor, everything, $50. Now, if that was America, right, one night I'd be paying like $400 for a job, $50. You got so many skilled people here. You look. I'm gonna tell you right now, and I learned this years ago when I got here. I was like, when I first came to Liberia, man, I had this thing like, well, we're gonna go over to Liberia, start teaching the Liberian skills and whatnot. You get over here and whatnot, you see these Liberians, they got machine shops, industrial shops. And then it dawned on me, Liberia's a modern country. So of course they're gonna have, I seen guys the guy who made my furniture, I was like, God damn, man. He had a little furniture factory. I was like, God damn. So you got all these people got these skills in this country, man. It's unfreaking real. Mechanics all day and all night. You never have to worry about going through freaking Goodyear, paying like $500 for some stupid shit. You get the mechanics here, it work for much cheaper, and they get the actual same job done. So, but all that potential, man, all that potential, and you're like, wow. going to waste because people, and I'm listening to these politicians here while I'm here, you know, they want to friggin' play games back and forth with people's lives. You know, that's one thing that angers me, right? People, you are playing games with people's lives. You know, I am so sick and tired of hearing somebody's corrupt, somebody's this, somebody's that. Instead of saying, you know something, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something right now, right? If you have a country, a government, and everything like that, you have something that a lot of people in the world do not have. You have the right to self determination. You have a flag, a seal, a recognized territory. If you got all that, and the only thing you could think of is getting in power so you could line your own pockets, I got no forgiveness for that. That's what angers me, you know? Because I'm saying to myself, this country is so beautiful. It has so much potential and everything like that, but I don't think the people even know what to do with it. And and I'm saying to myself, the people need a future. Young people need a future. I'm saying to myself, look at these kids. Like my son-in-law, my son-in-law, he has a little girlfriend. My wife don't like calling him girlfriend because she's like, that ain't his girlfriend, whatever, whatever. Came by the other day, cute little girl, man. And I was like, from a school, right? So I said, so how you doing? You and Tomas good friends? And she goes, yeah. I go, so what do you want to be when you grow up? She goes, I want to be an electrical engineer. I said, you could do that. You'll be the first girl electrical engineer. She goes, yeah, I want to be an electrical engineer. So I'm saying to myself, you do it, but I'm just saying to myself, now, if I was a politician or government official and I see that little beautiful girl say something like that, I would move heaven and earth to make sure that happens. But when I look at these people that's running the country, right, they don't love their people enough to say, I'm gonna put all the foolishness and nonsense aside. I'm gonna grow the fuck up and whatnot. And let's get together and start nation building. That's what my anger is, Elvis, if you were to ever know. I am sick and tired of fucking black people fucking acting like children. Like I said, when I see a little girl, man, I'm just like, I don't know what to tell her, you know? I would like to tell her, oh yeah, it's going to be major investments here and blah blah blah. You're going to have that chance, but what can I tell her? I tell her you might have to come get a visa, come to America and work and whatnot. You got to leave your country to come to America or go to another country. You know, you get the education, you got to go around the world. So you know, there's no opportunity in your own country. But I'm going to tell her that. So it just, I don't know. You know, just all this stuff just makes you depressed. It really does make you depressed. You know, because I really thought that, you know, all the years I've been coming here, I thought I'd see things better, but you know, it is what it is. You know, I can't help this. You know, I can't help the situation anymore. What I do is pray for this country, pray for God bless Liberia. You know, and hopefully they'll figure it out. They got a lot of people here, they're doing something, you know. Some people are doing something. I see a lot of people, more people this time I came here look like they got professional jobs. More people look like they got nice cars and living a modern life, you know. There's a lot of that going on, you know. There's a lot of Liberians that live in got nice cars, nice clothes, housing, and stuff like that. And there's a lot, there's a lot of going on in the country. That's just what it is. You know, and whether it's going to be the type of country that I could agree with, you know, I seriously doubt. But you got to have an. Will it be in Afghanistan? No, because the reality is we got the Lebanese here, we got the Indians here, we got the Chinese here, we got these other people here, and I'm looking at Lebanese, and they're unstoppable. They have this Lebanese supermarket chain called Harbel. Harbel's from Firestone. And Firestone it used to be Firestone's company that imported a lot of stuff. But the Lebanese own run it now, you know? And they got like operations all over Monrovia and whatnot, you know? And this one suburb, I think it's in Think how ingenious this is. Out there in Marshall, they got new housing development, right? And then I seen a thing where it says, "Oh, we got our own grocery store now. It's Harbel." So in other words, the Lebanese are expanding beyond Monrovia, and that's a good thing. You got people out there. If you could start building housing development in that area, Marshall, sure, I was a couple of years. I moved there, because I couldn't live in Monrovia because it's too congested. But you got this. Well, if you go out there and you got nice houses out there, nice development, and everything, but you're in the middle of nowhere. Now, if the Lebanese come in and start building, businesses and recreations and whatnot, stuff like the entertainment, whatever, grocery stores and everything like that, and make it a little popping out there. Yeah, in Marshall, you're only like 15 minutes from the airport. You could probably spend your time in Liberia without never having to go to Monrovia. That'd be a good thing. More especially, I think you need to let people know that the Congo people are the American Liberian are not no actually Congo people. Look, I saw the little mega mall. I drove by it yesterday. It's on the other side of Old Road. It look. It's not that big. It's not that big. I went there the other day. It's not open yet. It looks nice. It's right there, and it's in a good spot. That's right where I first stayed in Liberia. Right there, when I first stayed in Liberia, years ago. That area right there. That's right in back of Jules Howard Taylor's house and everything. It's on the front side of Tubman Boulevard and what you call Congo and on Congo Town on Old Road. The backside of Old Road. I was there the other day. I looked at it, and I mean, on the videos it looked like it was good, but it's not that big. I mean, it's gonna be nice in there and everything like that, but it's not the China Mall. That's not China. It's called Monrovia Mall. You know, not called. I thought you called it China Mall. No, it's called the Monrovia Mall. I mean, it's nice and everything. Look, if you go inside and you got AC, you got a movie theater. I think if they have all those things, like a food court and stuff like that, yeah, I like it. Yeah, I like it. But I don't see how anything could compete with Waterside. Holy jeez, I saw my guy Muhammad the other day, man. I call you, hey, what's up, Mikala? What up? That's my guy, man. Every time I come to Liberia, I said, well, I didn't buy nothing the other day. I said, I'm gonna see him before I leave. And I always make sure I take care of him before I leave. I buy a bunch of stuff, souvenirs before I come back. He said, oh, where's Bella at? I said, oh, she's home. I'm just out on the town. But I always go down, and he's right there on Michelin Street, on the corner of Michelin and Ashman Street. And I always see him every year, man. He always expects to see me around March. He's like, yeah, I knew I was gonna see you sooner or later this month. I said, you come every year. I said, I know, I'm here every year. And so it was like so I don't know how that mall is gonna compete with that. I mean, look, let me tell you something. In Waterside, you can get anything and everything. You got people out there with all kinds of belts, laid out, whatnot. You got all kinds of handbags. Anything where people walking around with socks, there's everything and everything, right? So I don't know who's gonna be the vendors in that mall, because you got everything. There's nothing more intense than that Waterside shopping area. Waterside, and the part of Waterside that goes all the way over to Dumas Bridge, and you're right there on Michelin Street and Ashburn Street and all that, and Newport Street and all that. Randall Street. I don't know how that mall in Congo Town is going to compete with that. I mean, it looks nice. I mean, I guess if you want to upscale, they must gonna have nice restaurants and stuff like that. You know. Guinea is like apologizing now. Who cares the water size? Water size is not that bad. Bottom line, you get what it serves its purpose. You get the shit you want. I mean, my God, bro. And that's what I think a lot of Liberians like it like that. You get the shit you want. There's everything and everything's out there, man. Yeah, I mean, one time on the board side, I needed a suitcase, right? And I was sitting there talking, and all of a sudden the kid walked by. Did I hear you say you need a suitcase? I go, yeah, we need a suitcase. Kid came out with a suitcase. I still got the suitcase today. Came out there with a fucking suitcase, $20. All right, bet. I was like, damn, man. He just heard us over. I was in the car, and I was like, man, I wish I could find somebody that got a suitcase. Oh, whoa. I heard somebody say a suitcase. Yo, wait a minute, stay right there when I was in traffic. Well, that's how it is in Liberia, bro. One time, man, I needed a frying pan. I gave the guy $20, right? And I figured I'll be right back. That kids are so honest too, right? He came back, disappeared one night. I said, I hope he comes back. I said, well, that's only $20, whatever. So he comes back with the damn frying pan, right? And then he gave me change, right? I gave him like $5. I said, hey, that's for you. $10 for the frying pan. I was like, damn, man. That's what I'm thinking. I was in traffic, right? He said, I'll be right back. When he was on his bike, drove someplace, came back and whatnot. Bloom, you know, had that shit. That's how it is in Liberia, bro. No, I be feeling for that Liberian dollar. I like paying people in Liberian dollar. I get more out of the Liberian dollars, than I do anything else. But other than that, yeah, sir, good one. I was just that, the monumental thing of nation building, right? Because I can't say much because the government's doing the best it can. I just think, me personally, you know, it bothers me. It bothers me when you got Yucca Kolaba, whatever his name is, right? He's on there talking all this nonsense when that. And and it's the same thing when Sirleaf was president. It's the same thing with George Weah as president, Charles Taylor. There's always going to be people that's sitting in the background talking about they're corrupt. And let me tell you something, right? Most dangerous thing is this. The most dangerous thing is when you could rile up poor people, you know, and they're more likely to believe and when you tie, that's what's so wicked. When you tie their poverty, not to global or delayed gratification that we got to have timetables, benchmarks, and stuff like that. We got to be on a national plan, a trajectory. When you tie people's poverty and blame the people that's in charge for their immediate poverty, that's wicked. Um, um, in the 19 after World War II, the British took millions of pounds of food from India to feed its soldiers, and 1 million people starved. Now, after World War II, the government when Gandhi and them got the independence, they were tasked with building a country from nothing. You know, the people on the same page. They saw the enemy as the British, so they want to give the country, time to get together, and you got to keep people informed. So it's not just the government, of the people. It's the government too. The government got to be out front. I would propose, right, if I ever had Booker's ear or whoever's ear, is I would start what we call a fairness doctrine online. That if you get say a post or anything like that you spreading misinformation, the government should sanction you and call you down and question you on record. What you mean by those statements? Why did you have it? And we'll give them a chance to retract those statements, right? Because I'm seeing people listen to stuff, just like you got people right now walking around talking about their Native American and stupid shit like that. it was up to me, these people were going to jail. And don't tell me about no damn freedom of speech, right? That's a white concept that was never about freedom of speech. Nobody ever had freedom of speech. Freedom of speech got us saying what we want to say, got black people killed and lynched. We never experienced no damn freedom of speech. People are freedom of speech, freedom of speech. That's not freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is when two groups of people fundamentally agree with each other. Like, for example, the last time we really had true freedom of speech is when Barack Obama and John McCain ran against each other. Remember that time when that lady grabbed the mic and said, well, I don't like him because I think he's a Muslim. He's a bad man. John McCain took the mic first and said, no, ma'am, no, we're not going to go there. He knew that was the line he drew. No, you're not going to call him a terrorist and stuff like that. He's a decent man who basically I just have political disagreements with. That's the balance. That's what it means to be in a civilized society. But when you got people out there and they're basically throwing bombs, darts, and stuff like that, that's not freedom of speech. And slandering and stuff like that, that's not freedom of speech. And I try to tell some of these people over here, I said, look, if you don't have any solid evidence, right? Most people think the country is improving. There's people like that, but there's a lot of people there's a growing number of people who think that the government, I don't know what it is, right? Oh yeah, the government's not doing this, the government's not doing that, whatever like that. Okay, did you put it in proper context? The government only got a small amount of budget. They can't solve all the people's problems, right? So the thing is, you gotta basically say to the people, okay, they like which we call. Let me give you an example. Right now, you got a problem right now that I think is being solved with Guinea and the border. But you got an opposition party in Liberia who are, instead of saying, we're going to defend our country, we'll stand behind the president, and that's what I would love to see in Liberia. That would convince me that Liberia is worth saving. If you say, look, it's time to draw the line when it comes to our national security and integrity. We're going to do everything to give them moral support. But these guys are online talking about, Burkina Faso, Guinea's going to take over there. We got to get the George Weah back in power because they're using the situation to score political points. And I'm saying to myself, I said to my people down here, I said, look, you guys stand for this stuff. That's only political theater, right? But you don't play games like that. Because the bottom line, if people start believing that the government's inept, they're going to start taking the law into their own hands. You already got people here talking about taking up the gun, going to war and stuff like that. Stop hearing it, And so it's like, okay. I said Liberia had the golden age. 1945 to 1980 was Liberia's golden era. Everything after that has been war, suffering, and death. So I said to myself, why is this? Why is this? Look, the bottom line is this. You have a country, a nation state that's a member of the United Nations. The Kurds don't have a nation. The Palestinians don't have a nation. Taiwan is not a member of the UN. I just don't get. You got everything you need to build a prosperous society. You got natural resources. You got a young population. You got connections to Black America, America in general, and stuff like that. And you got a large number of Liberians in America. Why are you guys not putting it together? That's what I'm talking about. Everybody talking about this. Do you understand that you have a country? All people talk about, this, the fact that you have a country and a lot of people don't. You have something of value. You have a land. You have a country that's yours. And I'm saying to myself, I can't love this country more than the people who are born here and live here. That's why I had to take a step back a little bit. I'm like this, if you guys don't see the value in your country, I can't do it. Because I'm always telling them what the great country this is, how beautiful it is. They look at me like I'm crazy. So it is what it is, folks. So so it is what it is. It is what it is. It's not even about, anything. It's just like I said, I envy this country because Liberia has everything I ever wanted. You have a freaking black government, black majority population, everything you need, right? Everything is that can make a country great. Everything, its connection to the rest of Africa, the world, and so you could look when you're a nation state, right? You can enter agreements with anybody. For example, Black America, right? You saw what happened with the whole reparations thing, where Ghana had to step in and intercede, whatever like that. Despite everything that people think Black America is so powerful, we're not a nation state. We're not a government. So the bottom line is this: Liberians look at Black America like we're so powerful. We're not. We're not a geopolitical nation state. And the bottom line is, and the purpose of me is that I'm questioning, right? I'm questioning, like 1776, blah, 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 blah. Look, I am questioning the idea of Black people in America. Now, when I look at people and they don't agree with what I'm talking about, right? I've never heard an intelligent counter argument. Because history is on our side, the Black nationalist side. No other group of people, like I said, I support Imam Traore. Why? Because he is a Burkinabe nationalist. You know, he was a Burkinabe nationalist, right? So he's basically building what's good for his country. He's doing what he can to build his nation. And I'll stand on that. That's a square. He's standing on a square. And so therefore, he has some sort of legitimacy because he has a recognized nation state. Black America, we do not have a unrecognized nation state. So therefore, we have really no voice or no say-so or anything that goes on, even on our behalf. So like I said, I think I won that argument a long time ago about an Afghanistan. That's no one has yet to refute what I'm saying. I have not heard an intelligent counter argument towards the idea of an Afghanistan. I've never heard an intelligent argument. Now, when people say stupid stuff like, "Oh, I'm an American," when I know you're not. What you're doing is you're tethering yourself to white America. And as long as you tether yourself to white America, that only brings out racist in the white American man. You're feeding his ego because he has this idea that another race of people is at his feet. You know, the boule, you're at his feet. You're basically on your knees to another race of people. That's sad. People say, "Well, what can we do right now?" It's not okay. It is what it is. This is what we decided, right? We were basically misled by leaders and whatnot, history and whatnot. Has told us that we're going to be good Americans, all stupid stuff like that. Even though nothing basically said that in order for you to admit yourself into America, you have to be accepted by the majority, and we simply never was. We simply never wanted or accepted in this society. We made something out of it by building our own enclaves here and there and survived in this country, right? We never really thrived and lived like we're free people. Everything we built in this country, they destroyed. We did too much, they destroyed it. As simple as that. People act like that's normal. Oh yeah, we had Black Wall Street. Why did they destroy Black Wall Street? You think that's normal? You think that's normal for freaking people to have a history like Wilmington and Rosewood and stuff like that? And you know what the sad part about that? You never retaliated. You know, you got a society that you bought into that tells you that you gotta let your ancestors' blood go unavenged. Think about it. Nowhere else in history has anybody ever done that. You kill me, you blow my up, you destroy us, humiliate us, or not, murder us, or not. But we're supposed to love and forgive you, and basically still be on our knees asking you for a peace in your society. And you wonder why white people are racist because they don't. When you think like that and everything, you're on your knees to another people. What do you think? They're gonna have no respect for you. Don't you understand that? People don't respect somebody that's kissing their ass or kissing their feet, and that's what you pro-American Negroes are doing. You're kissing their feet. I want brothers and sisters in Liberia to understand something, right? Do not fall for the cookout routine, right? I seen it the other day. Seen this one thing. It's Billy Balls. I don't know. Maybe I make it too much of it. There's a white lady that's from Texas. I think she lives in Liberia. And you got a lot of whites that go to like the Nimba. They're doing boating up there. There's like a river up there around Mount Nimba. And I guess I get it. We need tourism here and everything like that. But, the whole idea of, I think we're losing the whole idea of Liberia. You know, the whole idea of Liberia was supposed to be, I don't know, maybe it's just me, a sanctuary for black people, whatever like that. Maybe that was just too much to ask for. Maybe it was too good to be true and everything like that. So it is what it is, it is what it is. And the average Liberian basically are just glad to have white people around, the more the merrier and stuff like that. And so I don't know. I don't know. It is what it is. You try to tell them that, whatnot, they look at you like, "Oh, we're not racist like that. You sound racist." Then you got people advocating for friggin' citizenship for white people here. It just So I'm like, so I really do believe it's probably gonna happen. That's why I'm just, don't want to get my heart broken. Just laying it low because the bottom line, if it does happen, I don't want to have like a massive, thing because it's out of my hands. If they want to let white people be citizens of this country, and he also the thing about Black Americans getting citizenship and whatnot. My guy Val Thomas said they're still waiting. I said, I thought they gave it to you. No, they said it, but it was about a bunch of fanfare, but no one's ever got back to them, whatever like that. So I don't know. I don't know. That's just really depressing. Really depressing about the whole thing, citizenship. For those people who want citizenship, they want, because Val Thomas has been here for 22 years. And this guy right here really loves Liberia. Him and I have real good conversation. He says, basically, we got to get the narrative right about the history of this country. He says, look, I'm going to tell you right now. He says, in certain segments of Liberian society, and it got me depressed, he says, they really want to erase our history in this country. And I was like, well, he said, no, seriously. We're here every day. You're not here every day. Oh, God. They want to erase our history in this country. You know, they want to demonize our ancestors who founded this place. You know, and so I'm like, I said maybe I'm just fighting a losing battle. You know, he says he says some people would rather be poor and not develop than to give 1 inch to the founding people. That's just sad. Because these same people come to America, they'll sit down, they'll salute George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and all of their cool Alexander Hamilton, Lincoln, and everything like that. But our ancestors who founded Liberia, they got so much hatred for. You know, the one thing that the country has that that works is the one thing that they love so much is the government. That's the only thing that really works in this country, right? So we left them with a government. That's the only thing that pays and that really in the country that really works. And so that and a couple of concessions were the only thing that really regularly pays, whatever. Well, it just really, it's depressing. You know, oh no. All right, Elvis, go ahead.
What's up, Carla?
Not a whole lot. Go ahead.
No, I saw it. I saw it coming from a mile away. I knew it was going to end up right where it is right now. The native and the Congo. Eventually, it goes right
Well,
back to the.
Elvis, it's the thing is I think it's deeper than that. I think it's deep because look, to be honest with you, man, the Congo people are a problem too. They're a freaking problem too. You know, they are a freaking main problem, right? I had no idea. See, the whole thing about the so-called Congo people, and I know them, right? They don't give two shits about the country. They don't. They don't give. They don't have the pride in their. If I see, I was under the impression they had pride in their country, whatever like that, in the vanguards and stuff like that, but they don't. You know, they could care less about the country. They basically like this, and they care. All they care about the houses that they had, that they still have, the property they have, whatever properties they have, they leased out to Lebanese, whatever like that, money and stuff like that. And I'm just telling you, man. That's all they care about. Now, I was talking to Great African yesterday, right? I'm so proud of that brother, right? Because he has a coffee business in Wisconsin. I want to make my way up there. He has a coffee business. He imports Jamaican coffee, but he has an operation in Liberia. He doesn't even have a house in Liberia, but he has an operation, a farm. He says he got 24 people now working. I was at his farm 2 years ago. He has 24 people now on payroll. And I'm saying to myself, this guy, man, really loves his county, Nimba. He really helping his country out, stuff like that. And he's gave me a lot of encouragement, because he saw I was kind of down when I talked to him the other day. He said, Kyle, don't let it get you down. He says, and everything I was telling him, he said, man, I went through the same thing, man. People like not serious, whatever like that. And so I said, yeah, it's tiring after a while, because you come over here with all these ideas and everything like that, and you really don't have anybody really on your level to build with. And like I said, the American Liberians, man, I guess a couple of them, but they're so I don't know. I mean, I got the Ure chick. She's a nice person. I think she's Talia, where she's a nice girl and everything like that. But they're always on this apologizing shit, thing like that. And me and Val Thomas is like, they got to stop that shit. Because if you don't stand on it, one thing you say about white Americans, right? They ain't gonna apologize for nothing, not even slavery. You saw what they did with the UN, Elvis? They said, fuck you. They don't care, you know? And so those people will live. The people who don't sit there and care about what everybody thinks when I
This
said
is
what we did.
this is the root of all of your, you know, your interaction with Liberia always boils down to this, and I think you got to let it go, because this native Congo thing is like something that
Look, no, Elvis, I keep telling you, it's not that. You know what it is? It's not even that. I have more native people in my circle and friends than the Congo people, you know?
but you always
It's
bring it
the,
up, Colin, and it's divisive amongst
hold on.
Liberians.
It's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. It's the narrative, right? It's the narrative, right? I put, like I said, when you talk about a story of a country, right? And Kyle Fambula said this, right? Liberia is the only time in history where free people envy the chains of slaves. You know, it's like the freest people on the African continent were native Liberians, the freest black people. The people, Elvis, listen to this, right? The problems you have in the Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, and Guinea, all these other places, is rooted in colonial history. But Liberia, when you come here, it is safe, it is tranquil, the people are peaceful because they don't have a colonial history. The people here are united. It's a beautiful country. It's a beautiful country. So I'm saying to myself, what did that? It was because Liberia never fell into the hands of the British, the French, and the Americans, all that stuff like that. And the bottom line, and I don't think they understand that. You know, what makes Liberia so different than all these other countries got conflict. There's conflict. Burkina Faso fighting a jihadi war, whatever. They're fighting insurgents. You got French there trying to go from French. France is determined to come back and take the region back. You know, is anybody trying to take Liberia back? No, because why is that? Because Liberia never let them have a foothold. They never invited the white man to the cookout. You understand, Elvis? Do the average Liberian understand that? The white man was never invited to the damn cookout in Liberia. Why? Because our ancestors knew if you they learned from what happened in Texas, you know, even though about the same time, what happened all over America, North America, you let the white people get in one foot in the door, let them build one settlement, and you could forget it. Look what happened in Cape Town, Durban, where they eventually colonized the whole area. They did not let the white man get a foothold in that territory. That's why Liberia is a free country. You know, so when I listen to some of them talk, not the average Liberian is okay, but the people online, right? And I see this all the time. They're online and they're just going off this stuff about like, look, let me tell you something. This country is Christian. Everybody here goes to church. So, Palm Sunday and Easter Sunday, people look so beautiful here and whatnot. You know, you got these the AME Church, African Methodist Episcopal Church here. You got the Baptist Church here. You got the Presbyterian Church here. You got all these churches here and stuff like that. Liberians are very religious. Why you got people online talk about, oh man, our native religion was this and all kinds of stupid shit like that. You know, inciting people and everything like that. And I'm saying to myself, you know, instead of talking about what can we do to build our country, how we're going to give people jobs and a future and everything like that, you got people having long, drag out discussions about whether Liberia should be a Christian country or whatever like that. You know, just stupid stuff. You know, I don't know. You know, I don't know because I don't think they appreciate what they have. That's what's so frustrating about Liberia. They don't understand what they have. They have a government. They have a parliament. They have a presidency. You know, they have laws for that. There's nobody oppressing them. They got freedom of speech. They can move or whatever. There's nobody restricting them. There's no secret police here. They got everything going for themselves, you know? Probably the freest country in Africa. This is the freest country in Africa, you know? But yet they're always on the line and sometimes in person bashing this country, their own country. you know. And I told a friend, I said, I can't love this country more than you guys do, you know, because I look like a fool, you know. I'm like, how do I love this country so much? And the average Liberian basically talks down about it. Had that girl waiting on a tour, you know, me and Bamani ended up kicking off the tour. All she was doing, bad mouthing our country the whole freaking time. Like, 20 people came here to see Liberia. They heard about the story and they want to know about Liberia. Why are you sitting there bashing the country, you know, and uplifting all these other African countries and bashing your own country? That's all I'm talking about, Elvis. Has nothing to do with no native Congo.
Let me explain something to you, Kyle. You know, one of the misconceptions is that when the coup happened, it was against the Congo people. No, it was
It
against the
wasn't.
city. Hold on, Kyle. It was against the sitting government. Now we've seen coups happen in other African countries, but
Well, let me ask you a question.
Kyle, you gotta let me speak. I was
Go
quiet
ahead,
for
go ahead.
like you know. So when you see a coup happen in Nigeria, right, and a similar thing like that happened in Nigeria, when you had an Igbo guy, Agoyo Ronsi, who had a coup against House of Fulani government along with the Yoruba, you know. So those people took it as it was an ethnic attack against their ethnicity. And they vows, like the Fulanese vow that the Igbos would never hold power in Nigeria and so forth, because a guy from a specific ethnic group went in there and overthrew a government and killed, people from a particular ethnic group. So if you
Yeah, but
think,
the difference is that there's a one single difference is this, right? If you basically, when you took the people that was in charge in Liberia, wasn't all so-called Congo people, you know? It was a class of people that basically assimilated together because some of the people were Bassa, Gola, and they happened to be educated, right? And they were the True Whig Party, right? But then right after that coup, right? Everyone basically, for the first time in Liberia's history, modern history, right, start basically talking about that they're native. That was before there was no native versus Congo people. Before that, everyone starts talking about their native, they're this tribe, they're that tribe, whatnot. So therefore, people start running around talking about, oh, I'm this, I'm a Vi person, So this one lady said this. She said when she visited Liberia in the '70s, it was the least tribalized country in Africa. You know, because everybody got along. Nobody cared about that. You know, after the coup, everybody starts going native versus Congo and stuff like that, and like this. And it basically Congo that just meant that you were educated. You know, and anybody that basically looked like they got money. And the bottom line is this, Elvis, and we got a situation right where you have poor people in the country, poor people, right? It's very easy to convince them, right? That the people who have, right? And I don't know how this is going to work in the future. I don't know how it's going to work in the future, right? 'Cause I don't think it happened again. But um, anytime you have a situation where in Liberia it was basically the poor, like they said, Sammy Doe was a poor boy, whatever that was, the poor. That is so fucking dangerous. That is so dangerous. Why? Because what happens is this: what you're doing is you're inciting mob rule. You know, we're poor with that because we don't have whatever like that, and this, that, and the other thing. And what happens is people play on class warfare and everything. I believe every country in the world are going to have the haves and the have-nots, the people who have more and people who have less. That's every civilization. You know, every civilization since the dawn of man has it like that, Elvis. There's going to be rich people. There's going to be poor people. There's going to be people who are better off. There's going to be people who are worse off, right? Now, the government's job is to make sure that everyone has a chance to live in said society, right? What makes America work is the fact that in America, we know we live among our millionaires and billionaires here. We got people in our neighborhoods that may worth $50 million. We're not trying to burn this shit down, talk about it. No matter what we go through, we're not going to attack our millionaire class and billionaire class. That's just the way we are. And we're not going to blame them for our right, much as the left tries to do that, right? blame the freaking rich people for our problems, even though we have a little grumbling here and there. But for the most part, we're not like that civilization, you know, because we understand that the rich people have a place in our society. They're educated, have a place in our society. The well off have a place in our society, you know. That's what's called being a part of a civilization. Now, if you don't do that, what happens is this: you'll have a situation where the rich people will take power and oppress the masses, you know, such as what you had within Cuba and Pol Pot and all those other people. They use certain things to take the power from the masses of people, you know, and create a plutocracy, you know. But in a society where it's a free society, right? The society, I don't know, I don't know what happened in New York. I remember growing up, right? And I learned this, right? They first they told us that the laws were designed to protect the poor from the rich. Then as I grew up, I realized the law really protects the rich from the poor. Because remember the draft riots in New York, you know? They were basically going around killing rich people when not, you know. That could happen again. Remember the French Revolution? The poor people rose up against what? The bourgeoisie, the aristocracy, and whatnot. Marie Antoinette was executed. The Reign of Terror, Robespierre. How did Robespierre do that? It was just like what you had in Liberia was another French Revolution, where the poor were told that their problems were this, and they framed Marie Antoinette, say she was sold out to England and whatnot, even though it wasn't true, and they beheaded her because the poor had risen up. And right now, the reason why you have France the way it is, France is fighting for its life. Because the France said, you know something, we can't have this again. So what we're going to do is colonize the world and give our citizens a way of life that they're never going to rise up against us. The French start telling people, okay, you know, we got to have overseas empire. They got to focus on Africa, Asia, and then putting their people, sending the people around the world in colonies and stuff like that to colonize. Because they really learned from the French Revolution, you cannot have large numbers of people, poor people in urban areas and whatnot, you know, when you got a bunch of wealth. The French Revolution was about the poor and what they call the proletariat rising against the bourgeoisie and the upper class. That's the same thing you had in Liberia. You know, the poor were convinced that this group of people, the Congo People Truth Party, was the elite. They had this or not, you know, and they rose up against them. This could happen anywhere, anytime, and it could happen again. Anywhere, anytime. As long as you got poor people, haves and have nots, we're not. There's always gonna be rebel rousers, right? They tell you like that, and I'm seeing it right now in real time in Liberia. You know, a good thing a lot of Liberians aren't listening to them. We're just annoying hearing these people online always talk about, oh, Booker got mansions here. When I drove by Booker's mansion, it ain't much nothing to brag about. Got this little tinfoil fucking gate. They don't have a real gate up there, you
Yeah,
know?
that's not it, Kyle. And again, sometimes I don't want to belabor this point because it evolves into an argument. You get angry. There's
No,
a
no,
lot of
no.
things.
Hold on, Elvis. You can't debunk what I just said.
No, listen to what I'm saying. You gotta let me speak now, unless you're gonna go on another 5 minute tangent.
Go ahead, speak.
So the political thing in the country is that when George Weah came to power, of course he already had these things in the works. Nobody builds a house within 6 months, right? So he already had his, he had a nice compound in Thinkers Village
I think
where
those
he
things are a
built.
waste of. I saw those things are a waste of money. They look freaking destructive. They look like
Right.
shit.
So when he built those things, people say, "Oh, he's already stealing the country's money," and he
I
built those
don't I don't
things.
I don't remember anybody saying that.
Oh, Carlo, just hold on. Let me speak without being interrupted, please. So that was one of the biggest criticism of his administration that he came into power and he built these little villa kind of things, for rent. He put them off for rent, and people criticized his government for it. And our current president at the time was, a citizen, a civilian. He criticized the government for doing so, and a lot of the
Look,
excesses of.
I'm not saying that it doesn't happen on both sides. You know, all I'm
I'm just
saying
trying to.
is,
I'm trying to
all I'm
draw
saying
the
is,
hypocrisy here to you to show you why people are
all I'm
saying that.
saying, Elvis, all I'm saying
Carla, you
is
gotta.
that both
Carla,
sides.
I come to join you to have a conversation with you, and you can't even let me
Okay,
speak
go ahead, man.
or
Say
make
what you're
a
saying.
cogent
You're
point.
rambling.
Oh
Go ahead.
man, Carla, so the point here is that the president, he's an older guy, so he's a bit wiser. He has a place in Foya, you know, in Lofa County. The thing they're talking
Okay,
about is not in Monrovia, so you're not going to see it.
I
So
know that.
he's
I know it.
building.
Okay, he has a place in Foyer. So what?
Okay, then. So so when you say you don't see it, that's not
Oh,
that.
hold on. So hold on. Is there anything? Hold on. Is there anything wrong with having a place in Foyer's hometown?
Listen to what I'm saying. It's not a place. It's a similar style villa. It's like 10 of them in a compound.
I seen it. I seen it. I don't.
Right.
It ain't nothing really
So
spectacular.
the same criticism that they give Weir, the criticism was that
Okay, look,
when he
hold up. Let
wasn't
me
in
rephrase
political
this then.
office, he couldn't build these things. But now that he's president, he can build them. It's the
Let
same
me ask you. Let
criticism
me
they're
say
giving
this right.
the current president.
Hold up. When Nana Adu was president, right? This guy was flying around the world all the time, right? Now, when he wasn't president, right, or he's after his presidency, is he still flying around? No, because obviously that the state was picking up the tab, you know. And the bottom line, what I'm trying to say is this: that happens all over the dang continent, you know. People got excess and whatever
God,
like that.
you just don't know the main point. You don't know the main point that people are
I know
making.
the main point, but what you're doing is
What is the
saying,
main point?
hold on. My point, you're saying that he has this stuff that came in as a result of him being president. Okay,
But that's not the
okay.
main
Now,
point.
hold
That's
on.
why
Let
you
me
have
ask
to
you a
listen
question,
for
right?
2 seconds.
Hold on. Every last single president, right? Because I remember Jules Howard Taylor. I stayed right back her and Charles Taylor's compound, massive. You know, so every last single person in Liberia, no matter what they are, they always got a big house, everything like that. It's not going to stop. It's going to be like that to the end of time, right? That's not going to be any time. But so what you do is this. What you do is this. Now, right now, that this government right here is auditing a lot of people. There's a lot of people getting audited and whatnot, and this government's cracking down on corruption and whatnot. Now, if you have any proof, right, that there was some impropriety in him attaining the house, then what you guys need to do is come forward to proof
So
instead of just saying,
listen for a second, Carla.
"Oh, you don't have any proof."
Hold on. I mean, you want to argue with me? I come here to have a conversation with
I know
you.
you're not having an argument. You ad hominem attack.
No,
I
listen to
asked
what
for
I'm
proof.
saying. It's not a fight, Carla. Just take a pause. I'm not
Okay,
here to
give me the
fight with
proof
you.
though.
Let's have a conversation. So the problem here is that when this construction started, the president said he knew nothing about it. He said he doesn't even know what's going on. He denied it outright. Now this is happening in his backyard. It's not his hometown, but it's close to his hometown. And eventually he said, "Well, this is actually happening. Yes, it's true, but it was done without my knowing. It was my former, Minister of Presidential Affairs who now passed away. He started the project, and I didn't know anything about it. And now they're saying that it's a villa. Those villas are for dignitaries who will come to visit from the Minor River Union. But again, it's precarious that it's built in his hometown, and pretty much in a jungle kind of area where there's not a lot of development. So a lot of people are saying you criticize this,
Okay, all
you
right.
denied it,
Let
and
me ask
now
you a
you
question.
acknowledge it.
Let me ask you a question. Okay, so let me ask you a question. So, what does that got to do with the fact that you got CDC people running around talking about uh, uh, Booker is weak, Kenny's taking over, and the CDC will be strong on the thing. Even though nothing like that, he went there, did the diplomatic thing, that diplomatic agreement. He met with the president, thing like that. Instead of saying, "Okay, let the diplomatic challenge it,"
No,
that's how you
that's what I
respect
said.
your state.
You get a little information, you don't get the full information, right?
No,
So
I saw
you
him
saw,
met
but
with
let me
he
explain
met with the
something to you,
president.
Carla.
He met with the president of
Listen,
whatever.
listen,
He had an agreement with the president of Guinea and whatnot.
listen, Carla. Listen. Let me
That's his
explain it to you.
constitutional duty. It's to protect his
Carla,
state.
take a step back, take a pause. Let me explain it to you. So why the reason they're saying that is because number one, Guinea, of course you know this. Don't interrupt me because once I say you're going to try to interrupt. Guinea encroached on Liberia's, you know, territory,
Yeah.
and they're still occupying that territory. But the thing that people criticize the president for is that he went to Guinea to see the president who, you know, was the aggressor, right? And what the Guinean president did, he kept our president along with the Sierra Leonean president waiting for him for 2 hours. 2 hours while he said he was in there praying because I think it was during the time of Ramadan. Kept them waiting for two
So
whole
what?
hours. And
So
then the president said he had an agreement with the Guinean president. When he came back, the Guinean forces went back on the land and occupied the land, and they're still
they're not, yo,
occupying that
Elvis, they're
land
not there
right
right
now
now.
as we
Elvis,
speak.
they're not. Hold up, they're not in Liberia right now, bro.
They are.
No, they're not.
They
I don't know
are,
where you get.
Carla.
Oh, where you talking about? Nobody that I'm talking to
Oh
says
boy.
that. You guys are
Okay.
believing all this nonsense. You spread a bunch
They
of
are,
nonsense.
Carla. We've done a show
Yo,
about it
yo,
on
they're
Focus
not.
on
Yo, they're
Liberia.
not
They
in.
are there. They're
Look, they're
there right
not in
now.
Liberia. They're not in Liberia. What they are is in like in a couple of disputed territories over in that area. They're not inside Liberia proper.
What do you mean proper? The town there is called, I think it's called
See, the
Soloma.
town is the town has been abandoned.
It's a
Oh,
Liberian
that town's been
town.
that town's been abandoned. Guinea soldiers are not there.
What do you mean the town has been
Yo,
abandoned?
the town has been abandoned. The Guinea soldiers are not there. They're only along the river. You know.
Carla,
The
I don't
bottom line
know.
is this. The bottom line is you ask yourself this question, right? What exactly if the soldiers are there, whatever like that, and you got to have a long term thing. Should United so Liberia actually go to war with Guinea?
No, that's not what we're saying,
All right.
right?
So if that's not if you don't say you're not going to war with Guinea, then what are you talking about then?
Okay,
What's
Carla,
there to discuss?
your tone, man. I'm not here to fight with you, bro. I came to have a conversation with you, and you want to fight with me.
They're saying no,
Say,
you're a partisan CDC type. You know, you want to
you always
tyranny
think
of
it's
government
adversarial with
because
you
you
and
want
I. It's
you
not.
want your side to regain power in
It's
Liberia.
not
That's
even
all it
that.
is.
We're talking about a political situation in our country.
No, it ain't a political situation. You made it a political situation. It's not all
Okay.
that serious, bro.
Okay, kind of fine. It's not serious. Do you hear?
No,
I'm
it's
just
not
trying to
that
explain.
serious, bro.
Yeah, I'm trying to
The
explain
average
something to
Liberian
you,
there is not
and you
thinking
want to
about
fight with me.
what's going on that freaking board. They know the government got it under control. That's what they say.
Okay, Carla. I mean,
You know what I'm
you
saying?
don't
So the
get it.
bottom line is
You think I'm some kind of
online
perpetual
talking a
enemy,
bunch of nonsense. You got
and
nothing
me and
to do.
you and I can't even have a
You're
decent
online now
conversation
talking to Liberians every
without
day,
you being
and you're
offended
not
by
even
every little
telling me
thing I
hold up. You're
say.
telling me
It's
that
crazy.
the bottom line is nobody thinking about fucking Guinea, whatever like that. They know that Guinea is not going to fucking invade them or whatever like that because the bottom line is this: the
Carla,
day they do
let
it.
me tell you this, right? The Guinean president, he said to his people that they will not lose any inch of land that was ceded to them by their forefathers. And what that means,
First of all that land, the land
hold
right
on. I
there,
mean, Carla,
the
give me
land right
30
there
seconds to
was
speak,
given.
man.
Hold up, that give like the guy doesn't what it's all. He's a member of the Mono River. The borders are already agreed upon. So the bottom
That's
line
the point.
is,
So
I don't know.
listen for a second, Carla.
You say that right, but you
I
can't
mean,
prove to me. Put it in the
Carla, I mean,
back
really,
chat.
at your age,
Okay, put
Carla,
it
I
in the back.
mean,
Put in the back
Ca-
chat where he said that speech.
at your age, Carla, you still want to be
Hold on.
like this, man?
Put it that back
Just
chat.
listen for a second.
Hold up. Put it in the back chat where you heard that speech.
Okay, listen for a second, Carla. So the point that you just made that those borders were already established. Good point. This is two neighboring countries, Sierra Leone and Liberia, where before he came into power, even did the coup, we've never had issues about the borders.
So let
You
me ask you a
know,
question. Let me ask you a
I,
question.
I just want
So
30 seconds to finish up my thought.
go ahead. Go ahead. You got 30
Once he
seconds. Go
had
ahead.
power, he invaded both countries in those areas and said that those lands belong to Guinea. And that's why the Sierra Leonean president had an issue with them and the Liberian president had an issue with him. That's where they went to talk to him.
The problem is
Instead of showing them
the only
brotherly
problem there is
courtesy, he kept them waiting for 2 whole hours while he was in the back
hold on,
somewhere
the
doing
only
something
problem
else.
Liberia and Sierra Leone has is they did not like most countries in Africa. They're too focused on the coastal line, right? And they don't build any fortifications in the interior. Had Liberia built a fortification in that area, it would not happen. And let me ask you a question, Elvis. So, in other words, basically, so let's put it like this: you're saying that if George Weah was getting back in power, he'll handle the situation, right?
No, that's not what I'm saying. Nobody's
That's
saying that.
exactly what you're saying, you
No,
know?
I
Because
didn't say that. I'm only
look,
giving you
I'm hearing these
information on
guys,
what is
the
happening.
CDC guys saying, "Oh, if Weah was in power, that would never have happened," and all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah,
And the bottom
that's
line,
not
hold
what
on,
we're saying,
my point
Carla.
I'm trying to make, Elvis, is this: when you guys sitting there in America, right, sitting in America, right, and you're saying all this stuff or not, and you actually think that these people are going to elect George Weah again, you're sadly
I've
mistaken.
never been more disappointed in you than I am
No,
tonight
Elvis,
because
hold on. Let
I
me tell
came
you
here to
something.
talk to you on a
If
friendly thing
Elvis,
tonight, and you just want to fight with
if
me.
you think they're gonna
It's
let,
disappointing.
if you think they're gonna hand this country back over to the CDC, you're sadly
I'm not even
mistaken.
making a case for the CDC. I'm trying to explain.
That's exactly what you sound like. You know.
No, I'm trying to explain some things to you and that you don't fully understand, and you think I'm fighting with you. And instead of
Time
listening, you don't want to
you
listen.
don't play. What the fuck you mean I'm fully understand? I studied this country longer than you have.
Yeah,
You
but you
know.
don't study the contemporary history of the country.
Yeah, hold on. I
You
didn't
don't know
know
the
contemporary history.
ongoings.
I'm in the freaking country, man.
But no, the
What are you
current
talking about?
ongoings of the country. You don't know the depths
Hold
of
on.
what's going on.
Only thing you do is sit online. So like that, I'm getting first hand information. I'm here. You
No,
know.
you're uninformed or
Average
you're half
Liberian
informed
is not
on the
thinking about no
situation.
fucking George Weah. They're not thinking about no freaking CDC and whatnot. They're not going
Yeah,
to give
yeah.
him power.
We're
You
not
know.
talking about. I'm not. The issue here is not about CDC. We're talking about a situation that this current government is dealing with. I'm not mentioning anything about
Yeah,
political
look, every
parties.
country. Look, hold up. The United States is basically about to be shut down because the Straits of Hormuz is close to them. That's serious. You know, every country in the world. Tell me what country in the world that don't got problems. That's what dealing with a country is. That's why you have
Ala,
a government.
you brought it up. I didn't bring it up.
You know, that's what. Hold. That's why a country has a government, right? And so the bottom line is this: in the
And the people
process
in the
that
country here
hold
in
on,
this country, right?
hold on, the
People
process
criticize
that
Trump for his
countries
action
that
or inactions. The Liberian
no,
people
the
are
process
criticizing
that
their
countries
government
that
for their inactions or their lack of action.
well,
They have a
hold on.
right
Let
to
me
do
ask you a
that.
question, right? Let me ask you a question. You said inaction, right? Inaction, right? Aside military force, right? What exactly can he do?
All right, that's the thing. He could have went to the ECOWAS for once. That's our regional organization that all three countries are a part of. He could have escalated it to the United Nations about this land dispute. But instead of taking
And
those
I don't
first,
think the United Nations that's a serious thing
fine,
for you
maybe
because
fine. But
nobody got
instead of
shot.
taking those
Hold on. United Nations
diplomatic
only
steps,
does
he went to
one, which is
and sat and
when
waited
it's
for this guy for
serious.
2 hours before he met with him. That's not very presidential
So
and
yeah,
very
so
dignified.
the bottom line is this: you have a situation. If I had to basically take Buckeye and anybody else or whatnot to handle the situation as statesmanship, whatnot, he's built up a whole thing of what you call of statesmanship in the region. You know, if it was that serious, ECOWAS would have stepped in. You know, ECOWAS would have stepped in. AES would have stepped in. You know, it's not that serious, bro. It's just a border dispute. It happens all the time. There was a border dispute a couple of years ago
You're not
between Nigeria.
understanding.
Hold
You're
up.
not
There was
understanding
a
this.
border dispute between Nigeria and Cameroon about 10 years ago. And, you know, back and forth, blah, 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 and they solved it. It came together. These things always happen, you know,
I
because
mean,
sometimes, hold on, you know
fine, whatever
why?
you say. I'm
Because
not.
sometimes in those areas, right, people are from the same ethnic group and stuff like that. They go cross borders. And so there's a blurred line between this, what country you're from and stuff like that. That happens all the time,
Yeah,
you
ethnicity is
know?
not. It's not land color.
Yeah, it's all about land, territory, you know?
Nah, that's not what I say. I said
So the
ethnicity is
bottom line
not
is like this:
land.
you got the same ethnic groups on both sides of the border, so they go
Yeah,
back
but
and
the
forth,
land.
whatever like that. You know,
A country
it's
has a
always the same thing that
defined
happened in
territory.
same thing that happened in eastern Nigeria or Cameroon, right? You got people out there that friggin' that cross over the border and that what they call Amazonia and stuff like that. That part of Cameroon, right there, and then back and forth. And there was a dispute right there about where the border lies in Cameroon. Some of the people wanted to be part of Nigeria. They want to be part, and then the compromise was they have the Amazonia region now. You know, So the bottom line, these things happen, these things happen. But the bottom line is this. What my point I'm trying to make is this: Liberia got serious problems as far as like infrastructure, development, and stuff like that. You got children not going to school. That bothers me. You know, that children not going to school and stuff like that. We have our tour group here that came in 2 years ago. We took a bunch of like couple of Liberian children and we put them and paid their school fees up. We sent one girl to Ghana to go to college, whatnot, and we raised a bunch of money for the kids for books and stuff like that when we're a tour group here. And like I said, stuff like that I would like to do, in the future still. But the bottom line is this: you got kids going that's not not getting any education and stuff like that. That's not in school or not because they can't afford school fees, whatever like that. And stuff like that. Those are things that's important, you know, and stuff like that. Not scoring political points because I want to see Liberians start acting like fucking men. Protect your country.
I mean,
In your
Colin,
country, you want
you're
peace.
so
You know.
I used to think that sometimes I was too harsh with you, but you're not changing. You just have this personality, and you're probably going to die
Well,
this way.
I don't know. Look, Elvis,
It's a sad
I
thing.
don't know
I
what
can't
you're
even
talking
really
about.
engage with you
Harsh or
anymore.
whatnot. I'm just telling you. Look, I'm just telling you like it is. The bottom line is this: you got to have a country where you basically want to protect your country. You want to protect and preserve your posterity of the country and protect it like that. Sitting online and acting like the country's yellow elephant meat, which everybody's getting. So that's all you see, right? And there's no coordinated plan to build and stuff like that.
Colin, I mean,
Coordinated plan. There's no
you act as if you're not a smart person, right? At times, because you're talking as if the person or the entity that is supposed to do all the things that you're talking about, that
But
people are
you know
criticizing
how
them
things.
because they're
Look, you
not
know how
doing
things
those
get
things.
done. You know how things get done. You got people, think tanks, and people like that talk and whatnot. For a perfect example, what I'm talking about, right? I was talking to my guy, Great African, last night, right? The 2 nights ago, and he was like, I go, how come you never got into rubber? He goes, well, we have a situation and a thing that's completely unnecessary, right? And so the government of Liberia doesn't let anybody export raw latex, whatever like that. You got to have it processed, right? The only processing plant in Liberia is Firestone. You
That's
know,
not true.
yeah, hold on. That's the only processing plant, only place you could sell
That's
your
not true,
latex
Colin.
to is Firestone.
There's a guy
If you don't
called
agree with that, you
Jetty.
got to talk to Great African.
There's an
That's what
Indian
I'm
guy
talking
called Jetty who does rubber processing too.
about. I say,
Yeah,
well,
I'm
hold
sure
on.
he
In
knows who
large
Jetty is.
scale, most of the rubber tappers sell their products to Firestone. you know. And so therefore, what he said, Firestone basically got a monopoly on the rubber in Liberia, right? And I said to myself,
Yeah, but
why would
that
you?
was part of the original deal, Carla.
Oh yeah,
Your quote
hold
unquote
on.
ancestors, they signed that deal with Firestone.
Hold on. If you got a country, right? If you guys had the political will in the country, right? That means you basically what they call nonpartisan. Everybody come together for the greater good of the country. We're going to pass a law that basically says, okay, this is what we're going to do. It's your country. You don't have to friggin' buy. You could change the agreement with Firestone and kick them out anytime you want to. But you don't have the political will to that because you guys are so busy fighting each other.
Ooh, when you
And
say you can kick them, who can kick
you
them
could
out,
kick,
Carla?
look, you could kick
Who is
Firestone
you?
out.
Who is you?
Hold on. The government of Liberia,
Okay, say
people of
that. Say
Liberia
that.
could
The
kick
government
Firestone
can do
out.
that,
Because
not the
they
regular
could go
people.
and tell Firestone, shut down operations and vacate the country. They got to do it.
Yeah, that's the government.
You know what I'm saying? So the bottom line is this: instead of basically people looking at these contracts and stuff like that, Firestone, whatnot, they're so busy trying to tear each other down. And I'm saying to myself,
Carla, I
what the
mean,
hell?
you act as if you're some kind of naive kid who was in Liberia. You're in this very country. You're American. You know how politics work. You know the Democratic or
Okay,
Republicans saying that they're going to criticize them, and vice
that's the problem.
versa. What are you talking about?
That's the problem. That's the problem. You know
It's
why? Because
everywhere. It's everywhere.
everybody. Look,
Politics
I know
plays
how
a
it works. I know how everybody works is this. Basically, everybody, and I tell you right now, the Lebanese, one guy said this. And Lebanese and Indian guys say this, right? They said we're the ones running the country because every politician in Liberia gets a little envelope from the Lebanese and the thing to do their bidding.
They're not running anything. All they do is
Oh
they
yeah,
get it.
yes they
No,
are.
listen, Kyla, let me explain something to
The
you.
Lebanese and the
Hold
Indians,
on, Kyla, you gotta let me
you know,
speak. The
and the white
Lebanese,
Americans.
Yeah. The Lebanese and the Indians, they get extorted. That's what they get. They get extorted. So these lawmakers go to them and tell them, let me get 5,000. They give them a little envelope. And whenever they're in trouble, they're called for a favor.
Well,
They're not running
the
things, they're
Indian,
getting
I have never
extorted.
seen anything like this in my life.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is, like I said,
If you
I talked
start
to
doing that,
Thomas. I
Kyla, if you're a
said,
money man, you'll have your way.
look, I
You'll
told
get one or two,
Thomas,
favors,
hold on, I
but you
told
have to pay
Thomas, I
for it.
said, look, I said, what do you think about the Lebanese? And he said, yo, they're inevitable. He said, right now, the Lebanese are now partnering with International Focus magazine. And like, it's like, yeah, they're gonna start putting their major ads in our thing, whatnot, and they're gonna be getting Lebanese are getting into the tourism business, getting into the
Yeah, those are
tourism
the people that
business.
have
And
the
so
money.
by it like this, so
You
it is
went
what it
there
is.
without money,
It is
Kyla.
what
You went
it
there
is.
with a
It is what
plan
it is.
and a
It
lot of
is what it
talking,
is.
and you didn't go to what already matters, which is cash.
It is what it is. It is what it is. It is. The Lebanon right now got leveled 2 days ago by Israel. The
That's
country
not
doesn't
Lebanon.
exist.
That's the southern part of Lebanon. It's not the
Yes or
entire
no? It's
country.
all throughout the country. It's like a
No,
whole
it's not. I mean, what are you
section of
talking, Kyla,
Lebanon
man?
that the country's
Damn.
level is
Stop it,
unlimited,
man.
right? So the country's in war. They're
It's
in
only the
war,
southern part of
but they're
Lebanon
able to
that
take out
borders
billions of
Israel,
dollars. They're able to take
where
out billions of
Hezbollah is
dollars from
prominent.
West Africa.
It's
That's
not the
just funny
entire
to me.
country.
How the Lebanese are able to take billions of dollars out of the continent and they're in a war torn country. It's man, I don't get it.
Okay, Kyla, ask yourself, how can the Lebanese do it and African
I have
Americans
no
can't do it?
idea. I have no idea.
Okay, so that's the
I have
problem. The
no
Lebanese
friggin'
are
idea.
they're willing to go in a poor country.
Hold
Now
on,
that you're
hold on.
complaining about the
Oh,
country being
going
poor,
back to the
Lebanese who are white
African.
people
Hold on, you
or
have the
Middle Eastern, they
African
can live in a
Development
poor
Bank,
country
right?
and make millions
Guess
of
what?
dollars,
Guess
but
who
you
gets most
can't.
of those loans from the African Development Bank? Lebanese.
Now you're finding
Any of
excuses
my
now
white
why they're
friends go
successful and
came
you
from
getting
loans from the African
reputation.
Development Bank. They don't even bring their own money. They get loans from the
Okay, then Kyla, get
IMF
loans from
and the
America.
African
Go to a
Development
black
Bank.
owned bank and get loans
They
from
don't
there.
make their own money.
Can you get loans from some of those black owned banks that you posted up on your show a few times?
Well, the bottom line, I don't have a country, man.
Ah, okay.
I don't have a country. That's up to you guys. You guys got a country.
You got a country. You're a citizen of the
The
United States of
bottom line, yeah, I
America.
live in the United States.
You're a citizen of this country.
I'm living in the United States. But like I said, Kala, you wanted to work with a Lebanese. I said like this. I told a Lebanese guy, I said, look, man, I just told him a couple weeks ago I bought something from a Lebanese shop, furniture spot. I said, you know something, I never liked you guys at first, man, but I gotta say, man, I said, you guys do some really good business in this country. And a lot of us appreciate it. You guys are like, oh, thanks a lot. He was a real nice guy. He was like, oh,
I
really,
mean,
thanks a
Colin,
lot.
listen to you. You're kowtow to Lebanese. A lot
Well,
of
the
us
bottom line,
appreciate it. You
look.
talk all that black
I tell you right
nationalists
now.
and you're
You
kowtowing to
look at
Arabs.
you look at their furniture stores. You look at their friggin'
Yeah, they got. I'm sure when you come back to Virginia, go to your
they
corner
kind of turn me
store.
on, man.
Go to your corner store and tell the Lebanese or the Arab there that they're doing a great job and you
I don't
appreciate
have a
them.
Lebanese where I
Or
live
go to
at.
the Indians and tell them that,
Hold on. Where
Colin.
I live at, hold on. Where I live at, we don't have Lebanese and Arabs.
Okay, well, yeah, go to the Indians. Go to the Middle
We
Eastern,
don't have
whoever,
Indians either.
and appreciate them. I doubt it.
We don't have.
I
We
doubt you
don't.
don't have
I don't live in an
Indian people
area.
owning gas
I
station.
don't live in an area where we have Indians, Arabs, and all these other people. They just don't have
Why?
it.
Why?
Most of the businesses,
Why are
most
you
of
too
the
upper
white.
class for Indians and Arabs to live amongst you, Carla?
Well, I don't know. They don't live in
Oh,
my neighborhood.
Carla, come
Uh,
on.
the only thing Indians have in our area is hotels, the motels actually.
Yeah,
All you
go
got is
to the motels
motels.
and tell them thank you for having motels.
What
Yeah,
I
they
don't, I don't,
appreciate it.
what I need to do that for? I don't stay in no damn motels. So they got motels. It's all Indians got. And a lot of times they living in those things.
Mm.
Oh yeah, and storage units. Storage units. They own storage units and motels. That's all they really got, right? But so I don't know. But like Liberia, like I said, without city builders, I would not even be in this house right now because I remodeled this whole house off of city builders. City builders like this. City
Yeah, you
builders.
should. You're saying that the Lebanese have capacity and Africans don't, and African Americans don't either. You know.
Well, African Americans are not going to be. We got businesses in America. We got
Mm.
billionaires in America, bro.
Yeah.
You
So what do you
know,
complain? What do
you
you
got
complain about the Lebanese for? If they can take their money from their
they're
country
not
and go to
coming to
Africa,
Africa doing that. You
and
know.
you and your people are not willing to do it, let them have it.
Yeah, I have no problem with the Lebanese in Africa. Like I said, I basically said, look, this is reality, right? Liberia was founded
Do
as
you
a
know? Do
Negro
you know that the
Republic.
Lebanese was there when America and
Liberia
Liberia
was
were
founded
ruling?
as a Negro Republic, right? That's what it started
Tyler,
out as, right?
do you know that the Lebanese was there when the
Unfortunately,
America
they had a
Liberians were
coup in a
ruling?
war that died, right? Now you can't ignore you got a significant number of population here that's not black, right? And they're not going to sit here and have this much wealth and power and
Tyler,
not ask for citizenship. You know, it's
Tyler,
just not
let
here.
me tell you a story, a short story, right? On a Tolbert, before he got killed and assassinated, there was a Lebanese man who had a Liberian boy working for him. You know the story. His name is Joseph Burry. He's for he's a crew kid. He said that this kid stole a piece of candy from his store and ate it. So the Lebanese man shoved his hand down that boy's throat and pretty much suffocated him trying to get that piece of candy out. And that kid died in that store, and the country was in uproar. And they tried to go get the Lebanese man. You know who protected the Lebanese man and sent him out the country? Talbert. That happened, I think, in 1978.
I don't know about that. I
That
know one
happened.
happened
Everybody
a
knows about
few
that
years
story.
ago. I know what happened a few years ago. The
Yeah.
freaking the people like this, and that was under Sirleaf, you know. I remember that. I remember a story like that. I don't know if it was a piece of candy, but it was something that happened where a Liberian was killed by Lebanese, and the bottom line, they basically went to Lebanon. You know, I don't know.
I'm telling you that the
I really
Lebanese
don't. I
problem
really
is
don't
not
know.
new. It's been this even from the
I
days of the
really, I said,
Chubut Party.
like I said, it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. Last year, 2 years ago, there was a white guy that that tried to kill a girl, Jessica, in Cape Mount, and freaking George Ware appointed judge. And, you know,
It
overwhelming number
wasn't.
of
It wasn't a George.
eyewitnesses.
He wasn't a George Weah appointed
Yeah, he
judge.
was a George Ware.
He's not. No,
That
he's
dude
not. No,
looked
he
ugly
wasn't.
too, man.
No, he
You could tell
wasn't.
like this. I said, that's a
I mean,
judge.
Carla, you can't come on your platform and just spew, nonsense
Yo,
and
hold on.
lies.
That dude looked like he could be a pen boy.
Yeah, that's
You know,
fine. But the point is, it wasn't a George Weah appointed judge.
or whatever it is. Like I said, anyway, he was basically said that what you call it. He said that no evidence. He had a freaking knife. He had a knife there. The eyewitness or whatever like that, and the girl herself who lived, whatever like that. And they let that white guy walk out of the freaking country. I was
Yeah,
like,
we agree. It was a miscarriage of judgment. But
I was
don't
like,
don't
man,
don't add the lie to it that it was a George Weah appointed judge because it's
I
not
don't
true.
have no idea who was in. Who was in.
Okay, then. So why did you say that if you had no idea, Carla?
That's what I heard. He
Okay.
was
I mean,
okay.
come
Let's
on,
look it
man.
up. Let's look it
Easy.
up. Let's look it up. I heard that it was a George Ware
What's the judge's
appointed
name,
judge.
Carla?
Hold on. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Let's look it up. We're gonna look it up. We're gonna look it up.
Hmm.
Okay. Lucas Richard Judge. Lucas Richard. Lucas Richards. Richard case in Liberia. All right, we'll look it up. Alleged attempted murder, Lucia on bars, let's see, grand jury, Maserati County Drew, 7 count indictment against what you call, well, at least they got an indictment, you know? You got an indictment, you know? Oh, fuck, you know? Victor, Jessica Lloyd, attempted murder, liquidated magistrate, Liberia police. This is before, this is the arrest. Let me get the conviction. American man attempted to kill his wife, tries to fire harm his wife. Lawmaker demand legislature. Okay, wow, this is there it is right here. All right, Elvis. It says lawmaker demands legislative inquiry over American acquittal. We know it was corrupt, right? And she was like, okay. She's like, her name is Lee. A Facebook user alleged lawmaker Momio Briggs Mensa called for impeachment of Judge Nelson B. Chenna. What's that name sound? Sound crew to you, doesn't it? That's a crewman. Lucas Richard at the end of the murder. In other words, basically, there's an inquiry. It wasn't an inquiry because they know he got paid off. Facebook claimed that Representative Mensa wrote the law body Judge Chenna because he acquitted American. Lucas Richards was arrested and charged with attempted murder of his wife, Jessica Lloyd, in September of 2023. He was arraigned in criminal court B, provided over by Judge Nelson B. Chenna, and after 7 months of trial, found not guilty, acquittal by the judge. You know, breaking news: Judge B to be impeached. Judge to be impeached. Representative Briggs has written a communication to plenary impeached Judge B. Chenna because of his recent not guilty verdict of American citizen Luca against a Liberian citizen, Jessica Lloyd. Brought total disgrace to the country's entire judicial system. Congratulations, all serious lawyers. This will serve as a deterrent to prevent reoccurrences. Wow, I didn't even know that. So he was impeached. Representative Mensa told that call for legislation to integrate. Oh wow, man! I didn't even know this even happened. Bong County District Representative Mohamed Mensa written to.
Mema Bridge Mensa. That's what it is.
So it is what it is. A recent ruling sparked outrage. Blah blah blah. Representative judge bringing a Jews and the entire government to dispute following acquittal of American missionary. Wow. Wow. So like I said, one thing I do give about Liberia, they're fucking not playing with their legal system. They're not playing with their legal system, and they're not playing with the police. Right now, the police now are armed. The police now carry guns. They carry guns. They got checkpoints, and they are not playing. They're really professional looking, and they are not playing. You know. So when people think they're gonna get out of line here, man, they're just sadly mistaken. The police are not playing in this country. It's totally different when I first got here. The police are not playing. So the bottom line is this: people think this country's up for grabs. They can do whatever they want to, cause disturbances, whatever, and whatever like that. Be hot. It ain't gonna happen. It's evident in the face of the letter. House of Representatives Briggs Mr. called for a legislative inquiry. As a consequence, she only hinted about things. Somebody else wants to get on. Oh no.
I mean, I'm disappointed in you, man. I don't say this often, but I am, man. I think you gotta reassess how you engage.
What are you
We've
talking
had
about?
our
What are you
little
talking about?
differences,
So
but
tell me.
I'm not even.
So let
Listen,
me ask you a question.
listen. Let me speak, Carla, for 30 seconds. Jeez, I'm saying this sincerely. It's like I'm not your enemy, bro. If I come up and I want to just have a nice conversation, just talking the shit, you don't always have to be so defensive and think I'm attacking you. I'm against you. I'm not. You got to get over that.
Well, I'm not. I don't think anybody's against me, but I'm just saying the fact that I'm here, and like I said, there's things about this country, like a justice system here. I like the justice system here. The court system, the justice system here is really good. You know, Probably the best in West Africa because Ghana's justice system is a fucking joke. The police is a joke. Their justice system is a joke compared to Liberia's. And so the bottom line is people do get arrested here. People do serve like this in Ghana. It's like there's another thing people are talking about too. Is they won't let that thing with that Austin guy go. They're constantly talking about that every day. They talk about Austin. They talk about that, and so they're like this. So it's real serious stuff. Thing. I didn't have a couple of drinks, bro. I don't drink, Um, let's see, Carlson, the city. Okay, Black Manosphere, go ahead. What's on your mind?
Not much. I was just peace and blessings to everybody. I was just looking at the title and
What do you think about the
just
title?
think.
I said 500 years inviting the devil to the cookout.
Right. So I'm just thinking back to all my experiences at the cookouts, and I just in the back in the days in the 80s and stuff like that in the cookouts and stuff. I don't remember white people being there. Um,
Well,
but I
actually it's actually more. I'm not talking about literal. I'm talking about metaphorically.
oh, okay.
You know what I'm
Gotcha,
saying?
gotcha, gotcha.
Metaphorically, what I'm saying is this: um, people don't notice, right? When I hear these FBA people talk about African soul, black people, soulless into slavery and whatnot, and me, what I did was I took the time to actually study what exactly happened. I wanted to know what happened, right? And what I found out was there was a long period of time of European contact, right, before the slave trade began, about a good 200 years. Now, what was happening in those 200 years? Um,
I'm
the
I'm sure
European was
sex.
what?
I'm sure sex was happening.
Of course it was. Of course. You think those Europeans went to Africa and wasn't having sex? Of course. They created a group of people on the coast that was blood related, whatnot, and communities of Europeans and Africans racially began, like the homies, one of them. You know, same thing with Calabar. Lagos. These were outposts of your colonial Europe and Europe and Africa, stuff like that. Same thing happened in Guinea-Bissau. The Fantis and whatnot, and Luanda and stuff like that. So it didn't happen. They said, okay, we're gonna start something later. But it's slavery, as more African society become more unstable, right? European, and also it happened at the same time that there was a demand for labor, because after the Pope said to the people that you could not enslave the indigenous people of the New World, you have to find some other slavery. So Europeans began looking at Africa to enslave, to do labor in the New World. And Europeans are already was on the continent doing a thing. So first it started at slow numbers, and gradually Europeans start building forts, entrenching themselves, right? So I don't want people thinking that Europeans just showed up on the coast and Africans said, here, Europeans, I don't know you from Adam, but Europeans had basically had been on the continent, made friends, learned the languages and stuff like that, knew the culture, stuff like that, knew the contacts and everything like that. And sometimes intermarried, a lot of Dutchmen took African wives, same to the Portuguese, you know? And so, therefore, when you look at people like right now, I say to myself, and in Liberia, there's a lot of white guys here who, if they want it in this country, what they do is they get a Liberian girl, marry her, pregnant her, when not in the country, you know?
Yeah, I mean, white men, white people have been doing that all over the world forever, right? We know that. You know, I mean, no
Yeah.
white man, no man in the history of time is traveling to go see another man. You know what I'm saying? Anywhere you go in this world, anytime a man travel, he's going for women. And the thing that to get from whatever he traveled to is the resources and the woman as the major
Yeah, in
resource.
China, what they did was in China and Hong Kong. I think they got Hong Kong, right? Sometimes they will kidnap Chinese and or have sex with Chinese women, have the baby, bring them back to the West, educate them, and then send them back to China. Send them back to China, and that's how they was able to grab Hong Kong, Shanghai, same thing. One thing like I said, I always love about Liberia is Liberians, they were educated enough to know history, and they never let the Europeans get a foothold on Liberian soil, and that's why it's the only free country in Africa right now. How long it's gonna stay like that, I don't know. I don't know how long Liberia's gonna stay a free country. I was at the Ducor Hotel. I put a video up of me at the Ducor Monument. That's my second one I did, third one I did. I did one with Wani, whatever. And What I found out was, I knew this, right? I heard this from then my driver told me. I said, man, look at that hotel right there. You know, the Ducor was Africa's first five-star hotel. It was a beautiful place. People like Red Fox, Nina Simone was there, Muhammad Ali. There was all kinds of people from Black America and the world was there. When the diplomats, all type of heads of state and everything. Liberia was a place where heads of state came and stuff like that. And this is where it was, where the political power in the African continent was brokered. I'm looking at a Ducor Hotel right now. Right now, we looked it up. Some Libyan company owns it. I guess got rights to it. Gaddafi wanted to rebuild it, right? He wanted to spend like $50 million to rebuild it.
Carla,
It's still in good standing.
they own the hotel.
Yeah, I know that. I'm
They
saying they
built
own
it
the
in the
hotel, but
'70s.
the point I'm trying to make was the fact that the
You're so
U.S.
proud of
government.
something that the Libyans own. Come
Yeah,
on,
no. What
man.
I'm saying is though, it doesn't matter if they own it; they haven't built it. The bottom line is this. My whole thing is this, right? The government of the United States, right, the way the due course sits, right, is overlooking, right, where the U.S. embassy is, right, and they say you can't build it there because you'll be able to spy on the embassy, whatever like that. And I told my driver, I said, look, what the United States needs to do is take that freaking embassy. If you're gonna have an embassy here, move it someplace the fuck else. If I was in charge of Liberia, I say, look, you gotta get that fucking embassy the fuck out of here. We're gonna give you other land, whatever like that. Shut that building down, whatever like that. Use it for something else, right? But you can move your embassy someplace else. Maybe in Painesville or whatever like that,
Well, they have
Oh,
a
go tell
favorable.
them. Go tell them, Carla. Tell them if they don't move this, I'm bombing it, and I'll tear the goddamn place down myself.
Well,
It
the
won't
bottom
be
line,
here no more.
well, they're lucky
They
I'm not in charge.
they got a favorable location, Carla, because the
But
U.S. government wants
first of
access to
all,
the ocean
hold
in
on.
case
First of
of
all, that
evacuation.
location right there
You know,
gives them access to the coast, right? And if you look at the embassy building, right, it's really big. And why would a government of America have such a big embassy in a little country like Liberia?
Carla, who let them set up that embassy in Liberia?
It was Sterling,
Are you out of your mind, Carla? It was the American
Look, that
Liberians that
embassy.
gave
Hold
them
on.
that right to set up that embassy right there.
I didn't talk about that shack in the front. I'm talking about that building in the back, right? You can't see from the road, right? You cannot see a building road. That building is as big as the Pentagon.
Yeah,
That
but
building.
who gave them that place to set it up?
I have no fucking idea.
Okay, it was the American Liberian government. I mean, you say all of these
First of all,
things.
that was only built like around 15, 20 years ago. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
What are you
Ain't no
talking
major
about?
building going on around here without America or some other outside government
So he's an
in
old American
building it.
Liberian. He said he could bring up the so-called American. This has nothing to do with the damn American, with the building that they have right now. I ain't talking about what they had before. This building, I remember when they built this building right here, right? And I was saying to myself back then, that was back in 2000 and like 2012, 2013. It was right around the time Bob Johnson was building that hotel. I was like, why the hell are they building such a fucking big, massive building, right? Everybody kept showing the U.S. Embassy building in Monrovia. I was like, what the hell is that building being so big in that little country for? And so, bottom line, that was basically recent. Whatever they had there before, I don't
Yeah,
know,
yeah. Recent time,
So it's very
modern recent
recent.
times.
So
Yeah,
my
I
point
mean,
I'm
we
trying to make,
know that
I'm trying to make
everybody is
is,
going over there to do business. We know they ain't setting it up to hand out cards and flowers and candy like they doing business.
yeah. So the bottom line is this: the embassy, where it sits, right there, right. And anytime a government can tell you what to do in your own country, you don't got a country no more because the way the due course sits right now, the embassy, the way it sits right now, right, is the building is so big, right, and that's why they said you could see the due core, the Pentagon building, excuse me, the embassy building from the due core. They looked at it, you could see the thing. That's why they said we can't build in the due core because you could be able to look at the embassy. Now the embassy that was there before in the '60s and everything was small. This thing they got down here is massive. And when they built this new thing right here, they said, we're going to build this, but you cannot build it to core because it sits
How do
so
you
freaking
think?
high up.
I gotta double check it because I'm not sure what you're saying. if it's
Well,
a
go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Look it
yeah,
up.
if it's a brand new building or if it's
I remember
renovation.
when the building
Uh,
was built.
what is it? You and so you don't know what the building is there for, and you haven't been in
Well,
it,
well,
right?
I'm like this. Look. I'm saying like this. I know for a fact of the matter is that that has to be a friggin' headquarters of AFRICOM and stuff like that. Usually if you have an embassy or whatever like that, I think the protocol is the host country should be able to inspect things. Now you have a thing where you go to the U.S. embassy there and whatnot. You can't even. All the farthest you can get is the guard shack up front. You can't get to the embassy. You can't see it from the street. Or you the guard shack, and if you have any problem, you talk on the phone to somebody in the embassy. I'm like, what the hell is all secrecy for? And so
They doing
therefore,
business. They got the business going.
well, I don't know. Well, the bottom line is this. And I said,
Yeah.
and
What's
I
the
said
bottom
myself.
line? What's the bottom line?
Well, my bottom line is, I'm saying, like, so the United States, look, every time, everywhere the United States goes, right? Whether it's
Hmm.
Subic Bay, whatever, Guantanamo Bay, and everything like that, anywhere, Puerto Rico, whatever, like that, anywhere the United States has,
Hmm.
things just never turn out good.
No
That's just the
shit.
truth.
I mean, no shit. Like no shit. That's history.
Dave says the CIA is, yeah, I know. It's the CIA headquarters. It's the CIA headquarters for the whole entire African continent. I know
Yeah.
that. I'm not forgetting. That's why they don't want nobody building at the Duke Core.
Carla, let
You
me
know,
let me give you some personal information. Right, my auntie, my mother's younger sister, she works there as a supervisor for the nurses there. She works in an embassy. What that is just a it's a bigger space for the employees. They have a underground parking garage in that place. They have a medical center there. They have a big old warehouse there. Have you ever been in that building, Carla?
you can't get in there.
Okay, that's what I'm saying because you don't have the clearance. My auntie works in
All I
that
hold
place.
on, hold on. All I've seen is pictures of it, right?
Yeah.
Pictures of it. You cannot see the building. You can't even see the building from
You
the
only as
You
a
can't
U.S.
Google it. You can't
as
Google it. You
I
can't
just
Google it.
googled it and I saw it. It's a nice building, but it's a restricted place. Like not everybody can enter into an FBI building, right? You have
So,
to have clearance for certain places.
bottom line is this: if they're gonna have something like that, what they should have did was the government of Liberia should have put them someplace else, not in the freaking area on Main Street like Benson Street, when not overlooking the Duke Core and stuff like that. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's really big, and they are training people with that too. Yeah, I know. What you call it? They're doing a lot of nefarious shit in that building.
Not
I
true,
know that.
Carla.
You know.
They got U.S. Marines there.
I know for a fact of the matter is you
You know
see.
that's a piece of the United States of America, right?
So I know they're doing a lot of fucking
Yeah,
and
that's a piece of the
don't
United States
forget
of
about the
America,
big
Carla.
mysterious meeting where had the CEO. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. He met with the CIA in Virginia. I remember that. I don't know what happened with that, but I remember that. Look at it. It never ceased.
Yeah, they had some intelligence that they wanted to share with them.
So it is what it is, man. It is what it is. I just think the Africans, black people, Liberians, they gotta get that shit. Stop acting like
Carla,
children.
let me tell you this: the help they Liberia has gotten from the United States is a net positive for us.
Or
You know,
what net positive like what?
before Trump came in and stopped it, we've gotten
No,
over maybe.
what net positive, right?
You asked me a question. I'm
Hold
attempting
on,
to
let me ask you a
answer it.
question, Elvis. All right,
Oh boy, you asked me a
how many
question. Now you asked me another
how many
question.
public libraries do you have in Liberia?
You listen. Let me explain to you what I'm saying. Okay, this is not little town Virginia. This is not your local government. This is international governments working with each other. We've gotten hundreds of millions of dollars in USAID. We got into tens of millions of dollars in healthcare aid. When we had Ebola, President Obama sent the United States Marine Corps there, the Army of Engineers to go out there and help us. They risked their lives to help us. When we had our war in 2003, the U.S. Marine came on the coast and helped stop that war. The seized ships that was bringing guns to Liberia. They've helped with education. They had a lot of NGOs that hired a lot of Liberians in Liberia. So the U.S. government has been a net positive. Now, is there some things that they do that we don't like? Sure. Are they spying? Most certainly, they are probably spying in that country and in most other African countries that they're in, and Middle Eastern countries, European countries. So don't lose sight of everything because you
Oh,
think that
I will say like this.
you know.
Right now, it was because Liberia, the ancestors were not, what they wanted to do was make sure that Liberia never falls into the same category as Puerto Rico, Philippines, Guam, and also like that. They didn't want to be a colony of America. Liberia is fastly becoming a colony of the United States.
Do they have an army? Do they have? Are they willing to fight and die for anything?
Well, look, this is what it is, brother. When Liberia was, when Charles Taylor was president, Liberia had an army. Something like 25,000 people were in the army, in and out, wherever reserves, whatever like that. But what happened when Sirleaf came in there, right? They formed a new government, right? And they created a new army, right?
Why?
Hold on. Let me say it like this, right? They created a new army, right? And the bottom line, they disbanded and disarmed the old army, whatever I
Why?
just said, whatever like that. So they disbanded that. And so now what you have is a large.
Let me
Now what you
Carl,
have
ask
is
you a question.
vulnerability. Continue.
Yeah, what
Yeah, of
happened
course.
is
You have your two
Charles Taylor
thousand
Army was filled with a lot of rebel killers and
Yeah, let
murderers
me tell you something,
who were
Elvis.
who were
Hold on,
rebels along with him when he
hold on,
came and brought war into the country.
Elvis.
So they couldn't
That's what
keep
you
those guys.
started.
Those
Hold on,
guys
that's
are
what you
murderers.
started. Hold on, that's what you started with that rice riot, a rebellion. So the
I mean,
bottom line is, you know
I'm
what I'm
giving you
saying?
the reason why. Whether you agree with it or not, that's why they did it.
Yeah, we know that. We know that.
Okay,
And
then.
that's
So
what you
say it. I mean, say it to the guy who doesn't
So
know.
let's
He
go.
wants
Look,
to know.
look. There's nothing wrong with freaking what you call it. You got people that were in rebellion to the United States, and next thing you know, when the war was over, in the United States, they quickly went back to West Point and places like that and rejoined the American Army. Right? America had rebels. You forget that. So, so the
Oh,
bottom line is
sorry.
this: you got all these guys, Master. You got all these guys, like 10, like thousands of them, right? Who are sitting around, right? Soldiers, all they know is soldiering, right? And sitting around antsy.
Those guys
And
were not professional soldiers. They were Charles Taylor's henchmen and
okay,
and
yeah,
and, and
okay.
death squads who
Charles
were
Taylor
who were
and henchmen.
masquerading as military men.
So the bottom, yeah, okay. But the bottom line, can they hold a gun?
I don't
Could
get your
all
point.
hold guns. We
Yeah,
could all hold
anybody can
guns.
hold
What
a
they
gun.
fighting for? What they protecting? What they fighting for? What they on the
Because
line
well,
for?
we hold. No one ever knows what anybody was fighting for. You know.
What do you mean? What are you
Well,
talking about,
that's
Carl?
you
So the
gotta
bottom line,
you have an army to fight. You have it if whether somebody try to
and
come and invade
not only
or
that.
you're going
Hold
to
on. You said
invade.
that first thing. Do you understand that Charles Taylor was actually the duly elected president of the country?
Yeah, I understand that. So
So how would you
It
say?
sounds
How
like
would
they
you
he
broke
got
the
say?
yeah,
infrastructure down.
he got toppled in 2003. He relinquished power and he fled the country and went to Nigeria. So what does that mean?
No,
It sounds like you
he didn't
broke the
topple.
infrastructure
He
down, left
agreed to
them
step
vulnerable
down.
without.
Say that again, Carla.
He agreed to step down.
Yeah.
He get toppled. He agreed. He said, to avoid bloodshed, this
Carla,
is what happened
do
was.
you know where I lived in Liberia when I was in Liberia?
So he agreed to step
I
down.
lived right in the president's
He
neighborhood,
agreed to
Carla.
step down. He did, and he got
The
stabbed in the
rockets
back.
was falling right
Got
behind
shot
the
in the back.
president's house.
It is what it
His
is.
shipment of weapons that was shipped to Liberia through Joseph Boot, the arms dealer, through Benina Ure, his maritime commissioner at the time, it got seized by the U.S. Marine on the ocean, and he had no more logistics. He had no more arms, so he was fucked. So he had to concede, and he was crying. I don't know if you've seen that speech. He was crying, snot was
No,
coming from his
it's
nose,
like this. It's like
and he
this.
fled the
It's
country and
like
went to
this. What you
Nigeria and
guys
got
need to
arrested a few
do.
years later.
What you guys need to do is this. You need to decide. Do you guys want to build a country? If not, what you need to do, hold on, what you need to do is go to America and say, yo, look, man, we fucked up. We're never gonna get together. Put us under some sort of trusteeship for 30 years or whatnot. It was revisit this later. That's what you're looking at right now, you
Yeah,
know?
that's fine. That's fine, Carl. That's your opinion.
You know, and and like that, because the bottom line is this, go ahead, Jonathan.
Oh, Jonathan Miller.
What up, Kyle? How you doing?
Hanging in there.
Jonathan hair keep getting bigger and bigger every time he comes on.
You said, what up, Buster? How you doing, Kyle? You said
So
what?
I say your hair keep getting bigger and bigger every time you come on.
Man, I got some of your DNA in me, brother. I got to get that shit out of my spirit.
Oh, shit. When you go on
Then
Liberia, Jonathan, you kept talking like you were serious about going. I hope Kyle ain't this you
Nah,
know.
bro. I got caught up with work. I got a lot of shit to get done before I go anywhere. Now, I'll be in Nigeria in about 2 weeks. I'm trying to get as much done as possible because when I leave, I plan on being gone for like 6 to 8 months.
Oh, damn.
So I'm gonna be going all over the place at this point. No, I'm still gonna go to Liberia. Unfortunately, I went to Jamaica, not last week, the week before that. And I gotta make one trip to Belize. And then after that, Nigeria comes up. And then from there, Liberia. Yeah, I'll go. But Kyle sounding a little bit depressed right now. Sound like he doesn't want to go back. Kyle, I've been listening to the show. You just giving up like that, player?
No, it's not that. It's just that, at some point in time, like I said, see Val Thomas, he's older, he's 75, whatever like that. He's been here for 22 years, right? And basically, we're trying to. The bottom line is this, Jonathan, right? I'm disappointed in like the American Liberian people, whatever like that, because they're like the biggest fucking cowards on the fucking planet. They're nothing like us.
Oh boy.
They're nothing like us, right? They're nothing like their ancestors were.
Dun, 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 dun,
It's the
dun,
truth, though.
dun, dun,
The
dun.
bottom line, hold on. The bottom line is this. Bottom line is this. And I said to myself, Jonathan, I'm looking at Broad Street. I look at places like that, right? And I look how, look, I'm going to tell you right now. You look at some of these neighborhoods, right? You could just imagine them back in like the 50s and 60s. This was a beautiful fucking city. Monrovia was a fucking beautiful city. You could just imagine. You could look at we always look at things like what happened when this was brand new and the streets were clean and stuff like that. Beautiful city, well put together and everything like that. And I said to myself, how the hell? And I feel like every time I see these so-called American Liberians, I'm like, how the fuck did y'all let this fucking go slip out of your hands?
Oh boy.
And so I'm like, damn.
Kyle, you kept denying it, but you just can't let it go, man. You can't let this shit go.
I'm saying like this. It's not even that, right? It's not
It's
even that.
that,
It's the fact
Kyle.
of
That's
the
all you
matter
talk
is,
about.
okay, let's say, okay, the Native man. If we have a democracy, Native man rule, you got the democracy, that's fine, right? But how do you tolerate fucking uh, 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 live in a country where kids aren't going to school? How the hell you tolerate a country where there's trash every fucking place?
Kyle, these people are used to that. That's the problem.
But our ancestors who had Monrovia, you look at Monrovia,
Yeah.
how clean it
But
was back in the
Kyle,
day.
they're not in power anymore. The people that aren't used to schools and education, all of that shit, they're the ones in power. Yeah, and
Okay.
so this is the struggle that we have when we talk about Pan Africanism. We just have to deal with the reality that at one point, these people, unfortunately, they didn't go to school. They didn't have no educational system. They didn't have
Kyle,
they didn't have no
Jonathan,
research or any of
Kyle,
those
do you
things.
think the educational system that was set up in Liberia is similar to
Okay,
that
so
of the
listen.
United States? Hold on, Kyle. Where the government, through your taxes, funds schools? You think that's how it is? 90% of the schools in Liberia are tuition based. You have to pay tuition. And that's coming from the American
Most
Liberian days.
important thing.
So it's not like America where you can go
Hold
to
on,
school for free.
Elvis. I look at the average. Tell me what the average congressman and senator in Liberia makes. He makes like what, $40,000 a month.
Not true. I think at most is like $10,000 a month.
And then also he gets all his things. His
The
No, wait,
daycare.
senators,
hold on.
I think the
They make
senators make like 15K a month.
they make that much money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they pay exorbitantly.
So they making more than the people in America?
Yeah, they
More
make
than
more.
people in America. Yeah. Who else?
How the fuck is that? That's crazy work.
Yeah, that's one of the complaints that people
That don't
have.
even
That
make sense.
yeah, the lawmakers get paid way too much. Yeah, that's a
So the
fair point.
bottom line is this: you got
That's the
lawmakers
top
saying,
positions out there. You will get the pay most if you in government
you
or
know
you.
something.
Not
And the
that
only
much
thing
though.
that really works there, that's why everybody wants a job or get elected, because it's ain't about serving the people; it's about getting paid. And now that's just what their salary is. But when it comes to all the kickbacks and all the influence peddling and stuff like, you can get rich in this country, being corrupt.
Nah, a
That's in
senator.
Jamaica. That's everywhere. That's
That's everywhere,
corruption.
Carla. A senator who gets elected for 9 years, a senator gets elected for 9 years. Carla doesn't like George Weah, right? But when George Weah became
Yeah, I never
president,
said I
hold
didn't
on,
like
hold on,
George
hold on,
Weah.
Carla. Let me say this. He put on the ballot to reduce the term of the president, which he was the president at the time, from 6 years to 4 years. Senate representative from 6 years to 4 years, and lawmakers from 9 years to 6 years. And the people, I won't say they rejected it, but it didn't cross the threshold of 60%. That
Well,
voted in favor of doing those
that right
changes
there with the
through a
10 year
referendum.
and like that was started back in the day because before Liberia's presidential term on when the True Week Party was only 2 years. You know, it was only 2 years when that, but Tubman basically started that bullshit where he gave himself a lifetime appointment or whatever like that.
Who? Where did Tubman come from, Carla?
Well, what I'm saying is, hold on. What
No,
I'm
no.
saying
You,
is,
I mean, you say these things and you
hold
don't
on, hold on.
mention who they are because you
Hold
think
on,
that
hold on,
this whole system started under the
I
native when
get
they
a
came in
feeling
power.
as America, but that's you. I ain't gonna really care. My observation is a Liberian is Liberian. You guys are
Okay.
all the fuck. They're all the fucking
That
same.
patronage came from Tubman, who
Yeah, look,
patronized the lawmakers, who
but
extended his time and ruled for
nobody's sitting
27
there.
years.
Nobody's sitting there fucking defending that. But
Okay.
there's got to be a reason why
So, Jonathan,
Tubman.
when you want to know why it's like that, it was
Well,
inherited
hold
from
on.
the
You got hey,
previous,
Jonathan.
ruling parties.
Jonathan,
That,
ask me
that's fine. That's normal. The only difference is if it worked under one person doing it in comparison to everybody else.
Yeah,
In
Louis
order for a
Farrakhan
country
didn't
to
Yeah.
hold that all
thrive,
that
you
long.
kind of need somebody to stay in power for a long time. Period. That's how it
When
happened
you're
in time in
Hell
developing,
yeah.
America.
yeah.
Hell
Hold on,
yeah.
hold on,
This
hold
ain't
on.
America.
Jonathan, ask me who's the most popular, what's the most popular holiday in Liberia?
It's not true either, Carla. That's
What
What's the most popular
misinformation that
Day?
you
holiday?
have.
Tubman Day.
You
I think you
got
said
two
it
things. You
before.
got
Yeah, he
Decoration
said that,
Day.
but it's not true.
Hold on, it's Decoration Day and Tubman birthday.
Carla, just think about it, Jonathan.
Elvis, I
Yeah,
want you to
hold on
really
for a second, Carla. Let
understand,
me
man.
speak. Let me
You,
speak. Liberia is a Christian country. Take, for example, right? 70 to 80% of the people there are Christian. You think a holiday like a president birthday that most people don't even know, never even knew him when he was alive, you think they're going to celebrate that more than take Christmas, for example, or our Independence Day
hold
when
on,
everybody is
Elvis.
patriotic and they
Look,
go
Elvis.
out?
All I know
Come
is
on,
Elvis.
Carla.
Check this out, Jonathan. Google Tubman birthday, right? Everybody got their Sunday best on. The whole country goes into this whole
They
thing. The kids
supposed
put
to.
their
That's
Sunday
not even
clothes
what they
on.
do on
Have a
Tubman's birthday. What people do, they just go on the beach. It's a day off. They go on the beach mostly. They don't
Supposed
even
to.
go out
People
like
are
that. They
doing
go on
a
the
lot of
beach
stuff on
or
Tubman
they go to a
birthday.
nightclub. That's it.
Take
You,
care. Tubman
I
birthday.
got a feeling what they do is on
It's
Tubman
like
Day they
Easter.
stay in the
Just like
house and
Easter
cry
Sunday,
and
you
wish that
throw on your
country
best.
spirit came back.
Yeah.
Hey
Most people don't
Jonathan,
even know
Google
Tubman. Tubman died in I think what 1975, 1970 or
Google
so.
President Tubman birthday in
So
Tubman
Liberia.
most
didn't die.
most of the
Tubman
kids
got
didn't even
killed.
know who
Let's
he
be honest.
was.
Anybody comes into power does that type of stuff. You
They
celebrate
killed.
the best people in power.
Y'all ever gonna admit Tubman got killed?
Tubman was old and he was a habitual
Nah,
smoker and a
he
drinker. He most
they
likely died from cancer. I
they
think he
killed
died
him.
from cirrhosis of the liver, meaning he drank too much, which is true.
He went
He
to the
sm-
UK and they knocked him off.
There was like almost 80 years old, Jonathan, and he was
What that mean? That ain't shit. That's
he
young.
was a habitual smoker and a drinker.
But
That
when
should
you the
catch up
president
with
of
you.
a country, 80 years old, that ain't shit.
Nope.
You supposed to be in your 90s and shit. Everybody else be in their 90s and shit. 80 is when you start running for president.
Okay.
Apparently.
Look at Paul Biya, like 94 years old. We don't even know where he's at. He's running
Robert
Cameroon
Mugabe,
right now.
90 something years old. Come on
I
now.
was gotta be dead, bro. He died like almost 5, 6, 7 years ago.
If he wasn't alive
Yeah.
today, he'd be over 100. That's the
Yeah,
point.
boy. He was removed from power before he even died. The ZANU PF removed him from power pretty much forcefully. It was like a palace coup.
Now, can you imagine they removed him from power and they've been fucking up in that country ever since?
Are you saying that things was great under Mugabe when he was there?
It was better.
Okay. I've never been to Zimbabwe, but whatever you say.
But yeah, but that's the problem though. A lot of times people be like, we're gonna remove this person out of power. They're a dictator. They've been in power for so long. You remove the person out of power that had all the damn connections. They had all the deals. They had all the dealings with all the other
But
countries.
Mugabe, when Mugabe was becoming continent, well, I won't say continent, but he was becoming, his faculties was going. He wasn't really capable. His health was failing, so he wasn't as active as he was before.
Don't matter. You let that man die. You let him die, and then after that, you go into power. You don't just yank it. You yank power back, and then you go and make concessions to the West, and then the West betrays you after you make them concessions,
Yeah,
and then the country dies.
Edison Manangawa was his vice president. So it's this pretty much the same government. They just the head of the head was removed and the vice president took over.
Now you know what happened. Let's say it like this, Elvis. Me and you've been in power for a very long time. You got connections to Kala Nation, Jonathan Nation, and Black Manosphere Nation. And some nigga decides to remove you from power. We don't fuck with him. We fucked with you.
No, what Edison Manangawa was his vice president. People run on a ticket together,
A
so
vice
they voted
president,
for him.
a vice president don't mean anything.
Oh, okay, all right.
That don't mean anything.
And constitutionally, he was the rightful heir to the presidency. After the president had to step down, it's almost like they did a 25th Amendment on him. He was he was incapable of carrying out his duties, and they had to remove him and put the more competent and capable person in there, and that's what they did. I mean,
And they've been suffering for it ever since.
they've been suffering when Mugabe was there. That's when you had that $1 trillion, Zimbabwean note that was worthless. But Mugabe was the president then. They've been
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
struggling
because
for a long
that
time.
was
that
because
that
of
was
sanctions.
that
That was sanctions.
Hey,
that was
Kala,
sanctions. And
Kala,
let
are
me
you are
say,
you back? Are you back in the States?
No, I'm still in Liberia.
Oh, shit, yeah, man. Like Jonathan says, man, it sounds like you're coming to reality. That
No, it's the fact of the matter is, I just had I'm like this. You have everything you need. Like I said, I do believe Black America needs like a beachhead in Africa or something like that. But what's holding Liberia back is this story, this narrative, right? Like me and Val Thomas talked about that. He studied Liberia's history like I have, right? And we wanted to know the truth. What happened between our people that came here and the native people? And we all came with Sujan. A lot of stuff they said about our people that came here were lies, you know? And that's the one thing that basically, when people talk about, like he's trying to get Black people from America to look at Liberia and say, look, because we got people in America, is that they don't want to talk to Liberia because they've been bought the narrative. And when they say, when people learn it's a beautiful country, you got a beautiful history here and stuff like that. And like, yeah, there's problems. There's problems anywhere in the Black world. Anywhere you got Black folks, there's going to be problems. There's no big thing. It's something that's doable, you know?
Kala, we gotta be
But
honest. Kala, we gotta be honest. When you're saying that people in the country don't even pick up trash, that's a serious problem.
well, no, it's like this. It's like
That's
this.
not a
The
small
trash.
problem.
This is what it is. The people are very. Liberians are very clean. They're very clean people, right? But there's no place to put the trash, right? What happens is you'll have like a corner or something like that. Everybody will see. They'll see one corner, and every block you'll have a place where all the trash goes, right? And then eventually somebody comes, either picks it up or they burn it. But it's just
1776 says something that's really profound. And I think that's the right attitude to take. And maybe you should adopt that attitude. He said, let it go. Liberia is for the local native people. It's
I
their
actually,
country to handle and mess up. Black Americans, FBA, ADOS are meant to be America in America.
no. This
And
guy basically.
unfortunately,
This
Kala,
guy. This
unfortunately,
guy's a
Kala,
fucking idiot.
unfortunately, Kala, I agree with him. I mean, the miracle
No,
Liberians, they had. Can I just
I
say
would say,
something,
look,
Kala?
I would say like this. I would say like this.
The Miracle Liberians, they had their chance during that 100-year rule. They had their chance to become a real majority or a sizable minority. They didn't do it for whatever reason. They didn't do it in 1980. That sand, that hourglass, their time was up. That was it.
Yeah, no, I
They
know.
were on borrowed
And so,
time.
yeah, like I said, look.
I was listening to a show.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But what we do is basically saying that we're just trying to salvage the history because it was a story. When I go to Province Island, right, there's a story. I said, this is a birthplace. It's not just America, Liberia. It's all the black people, right? Before Liberia, no one ever thought that the black people could create a republic. No, we had kingdoms and stuff like that, but the idea of a constitutional republic was unheard of. Liberia did it, you know? And basically, Liberia is where all these other countries learned the idea of government. So we always got to honor Liberia. That's what I'm saying. I don't want that history to be trashed, you know? Ain't about us rolling Liberia again. I care less about
I was
that.
listening to the show the other night, and DK, you was really mad and angry with this whole thing about slavery. What is that coming from? Are you a descendant of slaves, or
No, it's
where's
just
that
that
anger
my
coming
thing
from?
is this. My thing is this. We gotta stop making excuses. That's it. We can't just be like treating people like holding their hand, trying to soft shoe. Like just be honest. They sold slaves. It is what it is. When you're saying that the white man did it, that's really bad. Like you can't do that. You can't just make excuses for people. Like Africans are human beings. They make decisions just like everyone else. So they make good decisions. They make bad decisions. It is what it is.
Yeah, yeah. And to add on to that, DK Kylo, what you were saying earlier was some crazy shit. Now. Talking about the
What?
Africans, they didn't know no better, and they got tricked. They wasn't tricked.
No,
I
no,
think that's
no.
what
I never
Carla was
look.
saying, and DK was
Look.
angry at him for saying that
Hold
bullshit.
on. I never said that. I never
It's like
said.
you're making Africans out to be like special ed
Yeah, they're
students.
stupid. They're
No,
some
no,
kind of
no.
like,
I never said. Let
you
me
know.
clear up what I said. Then you can just attack what I
Kylo,
said. I said,
they had a
hold on,
slave
Jonathan.
trade before the white people
Jonathan,
came.
hold on.
You got to
Hold
explain
on,
that
hold on.
Arab
If you
slave trade too.
hold on. If you want to hear what I said, let me say what I said. Right. Let me clarify what I said. Then you can take it apart. Right. What I said was the
The
topic
white
of the
people
show was
came. The Africans were nice. It took a long time for the white people to trick them. And Kylo,
Well,
before the
yeah,
white people came, they had the Arab slave trade.
Jonathan. That's what I studied, right? Because I know for a fact of the matter is, like Brother Mansfield was saying, when the Europeans first came there, they were not coming there with weapons and stuff conquering. They came there with friendship, and they were invited in. You know, the Africans invited them in. The Dutch basically spoke highly of Benin City, whatnot. You know, they basically said, "Yeah, we like this." They were treated great and everything like that. That was like a 200-year relationship, the Dutch and the Portuguese on the coast of Africa, before the slave trade even existed. You know, but that was like 200 years of Africans going. Some Africans actually made it to Europe. You know, they learned the Portuguese language, the Dutch language, the French language. There's a whole thing going on prior to the transatlantic slave trade. So when transatlantic slave trade started, there wasn't that natural immune system towards it. Like it was like, okay, are we Africans? Or are we? Like, there was no loyalty to Africa. But black people, some of them thought themselves as more European culturally. A lot of them are Christians now and everything. And that's what it was. That was like a 200-year period of time before the Europeans started building those forts and whatnot, and large numbers of slaves. By then, African society was in ruin. All through the kind of war, instability, and everything like that. So there was a lot going on and everything. The problem I said was the initial. Now, let me ask you a question. Now, when the Persians showed up to Greece, what did the Greeks do? They said, "Get the fuck out of here. We don't want no friendship. Man, get the hell out. Get back on that boat and get the fuck out of here." When the Romans tried to invade the British, what happened? They went there first as so-called friends, or we would stand out and they say, "Get the fuck out of here. You come up here." Same thing happened all over the dang world, right? When the Han tribes, or just the Mongols, right? We're gonna band together because these people coming here are not our friend. They didn't welcome the Mongols. The Mongols had to conquer them.
Mhm.
Only in Africa were the people
Yeah,
invited in.
they didn't do it in Africa, and that's history. And we are where we are today, and we gotta eat that L. We can't
Yeah,
just
we
keep
have,
beating
like I
around the
said,
bush.
we didn't do that in Africa. We didn't see them as enemies.
Yeah, because for some reason the Africans were too stupid to see them as enemies. Correct? But
Well,
everybody else eventually
I would
seen
say
it.
like this. I would say like
Oh,
this.
Kylo, let's call it what it
Hold
is.
on.
Our
Jonathan, let me
ancestral
put it,
people were stupid.
Jonathan, let me put it to you like this. Let me say it like this. Let me say it like this. Other people had books. They had learned people, scholars and whatnot. They had scholarship class, right? Like Japan, during the Tokugawa period, right? You know what they did? Japan did? They banned all foreigners for 250 years from Japanese shores, you know? And they said nobody could come into Japan, nobody could leave. They cut themselves off from the outside world. Everyone was an enemy, you know? So therefore, we basically, that's the way Japan lived, lived for 250 years, right? Every other society was like that. Japan basically, when in 1600, when the Portuguese there and Spanish there, the Japanese being suspicious that they were going to be enslaved by the Portuguese through religion. They had, man, massive cures and whatnot. They killed all Japanese Christians and drove all these people off the islands, right? And shut Japan off for 250 years, as long as America's been here from the rest of the world. 250 years. Japan was in isolation. But in Africa, what they did was they saw the white Christian man and basically invited him in.
No, the only problem I have with that is that Ethiopia wasn't colonized.
Yeah, Ethiopia.
Yeah, Ethiopia was a different.
Somalia also wasn't colonized.
Hold on. Ethiopia and Somalia was colonized by the Italian. The problem
No.
was
Ethiopia wasn't colonized.
They wasn't
Somalia
colonized.
was colonized,
Jonathan,
but Ethiopia wasn't colonized, Colin.
Ethiopia wasn't colonized. Somalia was. Let me say, this is what happened with the Ethiopians, right? Ethiopians already had a Christian kingdom, oppressor or not, so you couldn't sell. They were the original Christians, right? So the white man couldn't come there with his Christian religion and convert them because they already had Christianity, So that's why Ethiopia wasn't taken in by, the Catholic Church and stuff like that,
Christianity in Ethiopia is an indigenous religion. It's not like they have like white Jesus statues everywhere.
Right. So they had their own religion, So it is what it is, that's what it is.
But it's funny, Colin.
Somalia was colonized.
You would think that Ethiopia is just one tribe. But that happened. What you say happened in Greece happened in Ethiopia. The number of tribes got together and they kicked out the enemy. First, it was the Arabs or these other groups, and they kicked them out.
They did a great job.
Yeah.
And they all got weird ass beliefs over there. They got some tribes that say you can marry a 4-year-old and they celebrate it. It is what it is. But they came together. So for some reason, not all Africans are fucked. Ethiopia's a beautiful country today. I've been there several times. Man, goddamn it, I wish that was Nigeria. At the end of the day, we take an L in West Africa. A diehard L. Our ancestors from there was stupid as fuck. Backstabbing, treacherous, all of them. They sold each other. When the Oyo Empire was collapsing, these niggas started selling each other. The Yorubas were selling the Yorubas.
And that's what that treachery I'm seeing in Liberia right now. Instead of the country rallying together against a threat like the border, like that, everyone's trying to score political points. I swear to God, if I see any Liberian come like that, I'm gonna bust them right in the shit. Just say, shut the fuck up. That's the point I'm at right now, man.
Hold on, Frank Zanu's a dumbass.
Frank Zanu's a clown.
He is a fucking dumbass.
He's a coon.
But that's 1776 hero, man. That's his idol. He looks up to
1776. Frank Zanu is a dumbass. I listened to him for about 3 interviews, and I said, "Oh yeah, he's a fucking idiot."
You guys are a fucking clown.
At this point, just get down and just bob every white person you see. He's a dumbass. It makes no sense. Frank Zanu tried to compare American slavery to the Japanese internment camp. So some motherfuckers in an internment camp for a couple of years is equal to 400 some years of slavery. That's Frank Zanu. That's his brain.
That guy's a clown,
Where is he from? Which country is he from?
I think it's from Benin.
Oh my God, that makes it even worse.
He's a definition of a Negropean, And Frank Zanu, to you like that. But that's who you had on the coast of West Africa.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
Benin, Dahomey was one of the most notorious slave traders, so that makes it even
that's what I'm
worse.
saying. They basically were whitewashed. They were the most whitewashed kingdom ever in history. You know, and this guy he loves Bantu.
I learned that. I think I learned it from Kala. Maybe I learned it from someone else. But I
Yeah,
really didn't know that the whites or the Portuguese had kids with the Daomes,
dude, man, that
and
was
They
so
did,
fucking
they did.
common knowledge. The French, that was
and
so common knowledge. What do you think they went to Africa for? Everywhere the white man went, man, he spawned kids.
so
Whatever, he was a
should
horny
we
ass
blame the
dog.
mixed people, Kala? Should we be looking at
I'm not
mulattoes
blaming mixed.
kind
I'm
of
saying,
different because
hold up.
they?
There was a
But I'm
guy. There was
saying,
a
like, hold
guy.
up. When you
There
create
was
a
a guy
class of
named.
people,
There was a Brazilian slave trader named Francisco de Souza. He came to Benin and he made like a relationship with that Dahomey king. What's his name? Gezo. And the Gezo just gave him lots of women and he just mated with him. Even when Speed went to Benin, one of the women that was the tour guide, her last name was de Souza. She was one of his descendants. So they're still around in Benin.
Is Souza or Souza?
De Souza.
This Souza. Because of the issue that we have in Africa, and this is a very important one. If we're going to be Pan African, we just have to deal with our reality. It's going to have to be a great slaughter on the people. It's just
yeah.
going to
So
have to happen.
my
It
whole thing
sucks
is
to
this,
say
right?
it, but it's going to have to happen.
Well, I would
All of
say like
these
this.
fuck ass kings and queens and
Oh,
chiefs, they
they
got
gotta
to
get
go.
they gotta get rid of all
They
that
got
shit.
to go. They're the problem across the board.
Hey, hold on. What about the fact that you got a Nigerian in South Africa talking about he wants to be Nigerians, Igbos want to create an Igbo kingdom in Eastern Cape. Those South Africans will massacre the motherfuckers. They ready to kill these motherfuckers.
They
Ain't
should. They
nothing, they ain't
should.
gonna do it. They
Hey,
ready to
but
kill them.
If the
To
South
their credit,
Africans want to massacre somebody, there's a small population of white people that they can really get
Yeah, but the
some
see,
whites, hold
work
on,
Jonathan,
done.
that's my
Jonathan.
thing. Colin, that's my thing. The Igbos just see, hey, the white people doing it, we can do it too. Why not?
Hold up. There's only one problem. There's only one problem. Listen very carefully, right? I've been listening to the South Africans very carefully, right? They're saying, and it's all social media driven. They're saying they're always on line talking about us, how we're lazy, we don't take money. See, that's the whole thing about Nigerians. They cannot keep their mouths. They're like that everywhere. That's why people don't like them.
Colin,
They always go to other people's countries.
the white South Africans say much worse stuff, and they've done
Yeah,
much
but the
worse
thing
stuff.
is, hold up. But the thing is, though, hold up. But they,
Like, there's been
hold
a
up.
white guy from Britain came to South Africa, is now leading the fucking Western Capes.
Oh yeah, I know.
Western
Hold up, I
Cape
know that. Hold up, I know that. But he ain't
separation
going nowhere.
movement.
Well, the difference is this, though, right? Difference is this, though. What you call South Africans accuse like Lozi. They accuse Nigerians of getting involved in criminal activity. There's a difference, you know. And so, therefore, the bottom line is this. And also, what you call when you basically are the ones holding down a society, whatever like that, you got to play your position. A foreigner could easily, like, if I came to Liberia, right? If I came to Liberia and I opened up a business, right? And I say, you know something, man, I'm better than Liberians because look what I got and they look what they don't have, right? That's unfair, because I'm coming. If I lived here my whole life, right? If I was a pen boy, I would not have the opportunity. I'm coming into a situation where, of course, I'm gonna be a better and more advantaged than a person who's already here, who's struggling. Nigerians take that as, oh, I'm superior to you because I made it. No, you came there because you're coming into opportunity that the person there can't access because he has to work hard and he can't take advantage of opportunities in his own country. So basically, instead of saying, you know something, I'm blessed to be able to come to this great country, South Africa, and make a living, they're all online degrading South Africans. And Africans, unlike Black America, we have not acted violently towards Nigerians' insults. South Africans don't like that. They keep insulting us, putting us down, and whatnot online. And they keep saying that online. And I know what they're talking about, man. Look at what we go through with people like Michael Olawale and Kinola. People just talking shit. Other people ain't like Black America. They ain't gonna take disrespect. We Black America, we take a lot of disrespect, because we're
Kala,
Pan
Kala,
African.
Kala, I'm sorry. But if they said that in Black America in person, they would get dealt with.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's the whole thing, Jonathan. They only look, Jonathan. Let me ask you. Oh, it may be you different right there. What contact do you have with Africans in real life?
I
You have
mean,
Africans in your city?
yeah, but they cool.
I don't have
They I,
Africans.
I believe they have a brain. They're not going to say
We don't have,
anything
hold on, hey,
stupid.
in Virginia Beach, right? All black, mostly black middle class city. Virginia Beach, the black middle class is like probably the best place in America to live. Black middle class, everybody's middle class, whatever like that. No Africans, My day-to-day life, I'm not dealing with. Only time I deal with Africans is when I'm online, right?
I mean,
So
you're
with
not
them,
going to run into Africans like that in general. There's no reason to. It's not a
So,
bunch
but the
of them.
thing is, but in South Africa, they're right over everywhere, all around them, everything like that, and everything. That's why I said when black people talk about, "Oh, I'm tired of these Africans," turn off fucking TikTok, turn off fucking Facebook, turn off all that shit. Ain't nothing to deal with them. So, like I said, that's why I don't tolerate xenophobia among Black Americans, because you don't have to deal with Africans if you don't want to. You
No, I
know.
tolerate it. It's okay. They could be xenophobic if they want to be. They got a right to be xenophobic.
Yeah, but what
It,
good say?
the thing that Black people have in America, if you say it online, then those beliefs don't just pop out of nowhere. You say them in your personal life. You're just not stupid enough to say it publicly. But
Yeah,
it's
I know.
there.
I
That's
think
still a
what
point
I
of
think
view. If
it
that's
is
your
a
point of
lot.
view, fuck you, get out.
I think I think what in African culture, Black people in America, right? We're more measured, right? Like for
No,
example,
Kyle, I got something to say, and this really bothers me. How many people I've met in Africa that don't know anything that the slave trade ever existed? They
oh
think
yeah,
Black
yeah, they don't.
Americans are.
A lot of
They think
Africans don't
Black
have a spoke
Americans
in the
are
world.
indigenous to America, Kyle. They think we just
Yeah,
always been in America.
yeah. Well, let me say another thing, right? In our culture, right?
That means Dean Calloway is right, Jonathan.
Let me say this. Let me
Yeah,
say
oh yeah,
this.
I got one more thing to say. Now I got a haircut last week by a motherfucking pretending. And Kyla, oh, this shit pissed me the fuck off. This nigga was talking about, man, we were already here, man. All that slavery shit, that shit ain't real, brother. We gotta wake up. We gotta wake up. I'm like, my nigga.
We've been lied to.
Man, I wanted to kill this nigga.
Yeah, check this out. Check this
That
out.
shit broke my heart. I'm like,
Check
man,
this
nigga,
out.
why you
This
cutting
is the
my hair,
thing.
you dummy?
This is the thing in our culture, right? My cousin Debbie, right? She graduated. She went to school with Letitia James. They're friends. My big cousin Debbie. She went to school with Letitia James. Former attorney general in New York. They went to or current attorney general. I don't know wherever she is right now. She went to school with Debbie. They went to college together, graduated together, right? My cousin Debbie's a millionaire, certified millionaire, multimillionaire, right? But when you meet my cousin Debbie, you would never think so. The way our family operates, I got my cousin Jerome, it's rich too. They don't act like my brothers has a lot of money. They don't act like black people in America. We basically don't unless you're from the hood, in the ghetto, you like showing off what you got when that. But most black people do not act like when they really got money, they don't act like that. Thinking about what Nigerians is, God, they get money, they want to be like flossing. I got this, and tell you like, what I love about my boy, Great African, right? He got a business in Wisconsin, and he got an operation here in Liberia, right? And he's just a mild mannered brother, but he got a major operation in palm oil right here in Liberia. And so basically, he don't flash his money. He don't say, "I got this" and whatnot. We need more of that. People basically go around basically, I got this, I got that. That's all good. But when you go to a country like South Africa, right, you're gonna rub people the wrong way. That's okay to have money, right? Right? Just be modest and reserved with it.
Yeah, but those
When
are
you're
like
around talking about,
low class Africans that went to South Africans, low class Nigerians that went there.
yeah, I would think the Nigerians got to be like like every time the Nigerians you see online, like the freaking Michael Owale's, got to be from the fucking trash. They got to be getting the fucking trash. I refuse to believe people are like that in real life. I refuse to believe that. That guy got no class, no coof, whatever like that. I cannot stand that shit. People flossing over fucking money and stuff like that. Have your money, do prosper and everything like that. Do good with your money, enjoy your money, right? But when you basically just sitting around like I got this, I got that, and you don't got this, everybody else, I got, man, that's something that
Oh,
irks
these
me.
niggas ain't got shit. Trust me.
But they know how to front like they got money. They're not stunt.
Anyone can front. They ain't got shit, college. Trust me.
They're not stunt.
I listen. I on the Telegram group talk to these niggas, and at the end of the day, when you really listen to them, they ain't got shit, college. I don't know why. I don't even know why. What's the purpose of faking it? If you ain't got it, you just ain't got it. And that's okay.
So you're saying flex up don't got it?
These niggas. Come on, college. These niggas ain't got no money, bro.
You're saying St. James ain't got it?
If niggas listen, if you listen, I've learned this the hard way. If you got a lot of time to be in a group, talking, communicating constantly, you ain't got nothing.
I know that.
You shouldn't have that kind of time on your hands.
Yeah.
If you really
Or when you see
about
somebody
anything, if you
doing
run
it was.
anything, you ain't got that time on your hand. You got meetings to go to, you got shit to read, you got papers to write. You ain't got
Yeah.
time to be on no damn show all the time.
That's why people always ask me, how would you, because I do my show at night, not during business hours, You'll never see me doing a show during business hours, I ain't got the time.
Yeah, but the
John,
thing is, Colin, your show is aligned with a goal that you have in life. It's not just like you just online bullshitting. You got an objective with the show. What is these niggas' objective? Just
do you think
arguing
a lot
about
of those
Tory
people,
all day? What kind of shit is that?
do you think a lot of those people even have jobs?
Oh, they for sure got. No, I would say some of them for sure got jobs, but they're not what they claiming to be. A lot of times they're not. They're not what they complaining, saying that they are.
Because I'll be seeing a lot of them on many shows, many panels. I'm like,
Yeah, you can't. Listen, you cannot be a real professional and have that much time on your hands. You tell me what you do for a living. If you're a software engineer, I tell you the average lifestyle or a day of a software engineer. Motherfucker, you busy. You ain't got time for this shit. If you're doing finances, you ain't got time for this shit. If you're a school teacher, you got paper to file. You got too much things to do on a day-to-day basis if you're a professional.
Yeah.
But when
Even
you're
if
not
you
a professional, you just work a regular job, well, then you got all the time in the world.
even if you work remote, you can't do it.
You can't do it.
Like
You can't do it. I try my best to be on every platform now. I'd be like, no, I can't do this shit.
Oh, that's what people always tell me. Oh, Colin, you ought to do this. I don't make money off of this stream. You should go on here, go on here. I said, man, I don't, I just do it in my spare time at night, stuff like that. I do a spare time at night, and I give a lot of good shows. I do 5-6 hour shows at night, and I make sure I'm still up in the morning at the same time. Everything like that. All I need is 5 hours sleep.
Don't let this show mess with your paper, man. For sure.
Oh no, hell no. Oh hell no.
Yeah. Some of these shiesty niggas that come on, man, they might try to like call at your job or something. So
I had that happen.
Yeah. Did you hear the voice? Did you know who it was? You think it was Michael Lawai or someone like that?
I'm a bet on it. Say it was probably Chantel, just by default. Because she hated you so damn much.
This white guy, this racist guy that called into Bomani.
Oh yeah. It will be a white guy.
And he found out my business where he Googled me. He found out my business, and because I was saying some stuff about white people or whatever like that, he tried to call people on my website. He called my partner Ken, right? He's an older white guy. And said, you know what he said about white people and that? And Ken called me. I said, nah, Ken, you know how it is, man. Ken's like laughing, because why? Because me and Ken make a lot of money together. Ken just thought it was a brilliant kid. I said, Ken, you understand something, man.
That's your own business, though.
But this guy was a redneck, fucking neo-Nazi, and I just had to give him the business. He said, oh, I understand, You know how things are, you know? And so this was so he tried to do that, and he got people trying to call my clients up or not. This guy is a black supremacist and all this kind of stupid shit, you know. You know, it's like, yeah, it had to happen to me, you know.
Like, does that even hold weight anymore since we got Trump calling someone a black
You know,
supremacist?
so
Like,
I had it happen to me, you know.
but does that even hold weight anymore? Calling someone, oh, he's a black supremacist. Like, okay. We got full white supremacists in the office, Oval Office. Caller, can you hear me?
Oh well, geez, hold up.
Yo, caller, you there?